Chapter 3462. Why? He asked, puzzled. Wanyan Qianhua had been his for a long time, and she was pregnant with his child. Furthermore, he knew that she liked him. Since that was the case, why didn't she agree when he said that he wanted to marry her? Why didn't she want to marry him when he wanted to marry her? Fengjiu looked at the man who was tilting his head and looking at her with a puzzled expression. Hearing his strange words, she sighed softly in her heart. He was yet another person who didn't know anything about relationships. You'll have to figure this out yourself. Some things can only be understood, but not expressed in words. She waved her hand and said, since you already know about my sister's pregnancy, then I'll tell you some things to take note of. You have to be more careful, and don't make her angry at the slightest thing. She glanced at him and said, a woman's temper is not very good when she's pregnant, but it's easy to affect the fetus if you lose your temper and get angry, so you have to take note of everything. Jun Ju Shang listened attentively. He stood with his hands behind his back, listening to Fengjiu's words. Only after she had told him some things to take note of did she leave. Looking at her leaving figure, he thought for a moment and walked back. He wanted to see what that woman was doing. Fengjiu stepped down from the Peach Blossom Cove and walked leisurely towards the city. Her sister had Wanyan Shersan and the kitchen maid to take care of her. Now that Jun Ju Shang was there, she didn't have to worry. But now, as the days passed, the day of her wedding was getting closer and closer, but Xian Yuanmo still hadn't returned. She wondered where he was now. As she walked, she thought about things. Suddenly, her footsteps paused. She raised her eyes and looked in a certain direction, only to see that the mountain path in the forest was quiet and secluded. She didn't see anyone else. Since you're here, why don't you come out? Fengjiu asked. Her gaze fell on a certain direction until she saw a figure walk out from behind a tree. A trace of surprise flashed across her eyes. It's you. Fengjiu looked at the person in surprise. It was Yi Shiran, whom she hadn't seen for a few years. TSK, you still remember me? Yi Shiran crossed his arms over his chest. Seeing that he had been discovered, he stopped hiding and strode toward her, his complicated gaze landing on her. He hadn't seen her for a few years, and he didn't expect her to grow to such a powerful level. Back then, he wasn't her opponent, and now, he had to look up to her. Indeed, only that man had the qualifications to stand by her side. Looking at the person in front of her, Fengjiu smiled. After a few years, she knew that this person didn't have any ill intentions towards her. At least, he wasn't her enemy. What's more, she no longer cared about the small matters of the past. Naturally, her smile became more sincere. Since you're here, then stay for the wedding banquet. Yi Shiran fell silent for a moment before asking, why didn't he come back with you? How have you been these past few years? Mose? He still has some things to do, so he'll be here later. Fengjiu smiled and said, I've been living quite well these past few years. I'm just about to go back home. Let's go. I'll introduce you to someone in the residence. Yi Shiran hesitated for a moment before following her into the city. The two walked leisurely as if they were taking a leisurely stroll, occasionally chatting. Chapter 3463. I'll probably stay here for a while. Fengjiu smiled. Oh right, you might not know this, but I'm already the lord of this world. I even connected the upper and lower realms with the immortal path. If you're interested in the future, you can also go to the upper realms to take a look and gain experience. Yi Shiran was taken aback. He lost his composure and exclaimed, what did you say? You've become the lord of the lower realms. When did this happen? Some time ago, I think. When we returned, she said nonchalantly. Now that I'm a divine king, I naturally have the ability to dominate this world. The 4 guardians of Heaven's Corner have already submitted to me. As she walked, she plucked a leaf from the roadside and played with it. Back then, we still used the immortal ascension stairs to go to the upper realms, but we don't need to anymore. However, the news hasn't spread, so not many people know about it. Yixiran listened in a daze, completely at a loss for words. He knew she had become much stronger, but he didn't expect her strength to be so inconceivably strong. What kind of existence was a god king? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. Swish! Suddenly, a cold arrow shot toward them. Yixiran was so stunned that he forgot to react. Fengzhou heard the faint sound and raised a brow. He glanced over and waved his hand. A gust of air rushed out and repelled the cold arrow. Emishim. As the cold arrow shot back, a muffled groan faintly came from the darkness. The smell of blood permeated the mountain path. The next moment, several dozen black figures darted out and surrounded the two. Where did you get into trouble? Fengzhou glanced sideways at Yixiran, then his clear eyes swept over those people. Yixiran returned to his senses and glanced at the black-clothed men. His expression darkened. Truly persistent. The next moment, his figure shot out, and a cold light streaked toward the black-clothed men. No matter what, you're an old friend of mine. An old friend that I haven't seen for a long time has been ambushed. Moreover, it's in my territory. If I were to just stand there and watch, it wouldn't be right. Fengzhou chuckled and plucked the leaves from the branches in his hand. With a wave of his hand, the leaves shot towards the black-clothed men. The leaves, which contained hidden energy, turned into hidden weapons. Each leaf carried a sharp and austere aura. Wherever the leaves passed, the black-clothed men also fell down with miserable screams. Some of the black-clothed men tried to block it, but they were unable to block the small leaf. The smell of blood filled the mountain path. As more and more corpses appeared on the ground, the black-clothed men were shocked. They looked at the red-clothed Fengzhou in shock. However, before they could recover their wits and flee, they fell to the ground with wide eyes. Yixiran turned around and looked at Fengzhou. When he saw her smiling at him, his gaze couldn't help but flicker. He wiped his sword clean and put it away. Do you need help? Fengzhou asked. No need. I can handle it myself. As Yixiran spoke, he glanced at the corpses on the ground and decided that he would uproot this faction when he returned. Chapter 3464. Inside the Feng Manor, Guan Shilin was blaming himself for spilling the beans. He waited in the manor for a long time without seeing Fengzhou return. Just as he was about to return to his own manor, he saw two people walk in. Xiao Zhou, you're finally back. How was it? Did he really go to Peach Blossom Cove? Guan Shilin asked. Just as he finished speaking, he saw someone following him. Focusing his eyes, he couldn't help but be startled. It's you. Yixiran nodded slightly, which could be considered a greeting. In truth, he knew most of the people at Fengzhou's side. Brother, don't worry, it's fine. She smiled and asked, you've been waiting here the entire time. I was worried that if the two of them met, something might happen. I was worried, so I didn't go home yet, Guan Shilin said. Hearing this, Fengzhou said, then you go and take a look first. Although our two residences are close, sister-in-law is at home with the child. You can't stay here all day. I originally wanted to go back and take a look, but since you said it's fine, I'll go back first and come back later. Saying this, he nodded at Yixiran and left first. Master. Langhua walked over from nearby. After bowing to Fengzhou, his gaze landed on Yixiran and he warmly smiled, young Master Yi. Yixiran looked over and saw that Langhua's cultivation level was above his. He couldn't help but exclaim in shock, how did your strength increase so quickly? Langhua warmly smiled and said, because my master is the ghost doctor. It was a simple sentence, but it carried a boundless meaning. Because his master was the ghost doctor, his strength increased so quickly. Because his master was the ghost doctor, the pride in his tone and expression naturally flowed out. Hearing this, a complicated look flashed through Yi Xiaoran's eyes. That's right. They were Fengzhou's people, so how could they be ordinary? Lenghua, go and have the kitchen prepare a few dishes and send them to the garden. I'll treat him to a drink. Fengzhou said, motioning for him to leave. Yes, sir, Lenghua replied. He bowed slightly and left. She led Yi Xiaoran to the garden. Not long after they sat down, Du Fan walked in with a few people. When he saw Fengzhou in the garden pavilion, Du Fan smiled and called out, Mistress, Sir Gu is here. Fengzhou was stunned. He looked up and saw Gu Xiangyi standing beside Du Fan. When she saw him, she smiled and asked, Why are you here? Have you taken care of everything in the family? Gu Xiangyi walked forward and bowed to her before saying, Everything in the family has been taken care of. My father is in charge of some matters. I knew you were preparing for the wedding, so I thought I'd come over to see if there was anything I could help with. It's good that you're here, Fengzhou said with a smile. Sit. This is Yi Xiaoran. He's also here to attend the wedding. After the two got to know each other, they sat down and chatted. Du Fan retreated. Not long after, a servant girl came up with food and wine. When evening came, Fengzhou saw that the two were a little drunk, so he had someone take them away to rest. When she returned to the courtyard, she asked someone to prepare a bath for her. She leaned lazily against the bathtub and closed her eyes. When she heard the sound of the door being pushed open, she said, Ling Shuang, the water is a little cold. Bring in some hot water. Chapter 3465. She saw Xianyuan Mose, dressed in a black robe, slowly walk over. As he walked, he untied his belt, which made her a little stunned. Xianyuan Mose took off his robes and stepped into the large bathtub naked. He sat down in front of her and reached out to flick the water. The water droplets splashed onto her face, and his low, magnetic laughter traveled into her ears. It's not like you haven't seen it before. Why are you so stunned? His low voice carried a happy smile. It was clear that her expression pleased him. She saw that his palms were filled with spiritual energy. In the next moment, the water that was gradually cooling became warm again. Traces of steam rose from the water and filled the space between the two. Fengzhou recovered and a smile appeared on her face. Why didn't you tell me you were coming back? I was still thinking today and didn't know when you would come back. As she said this, he reached out and pulled her into his embrace. She was naked from head to toe. Being held in his arms like this, the feeling of their skin touching made her feel that the temperature of the bathtub seemed to be hotter than before. Although she was a little shy in her heart, she did not struggle or wriggle. She just quietly leaned in his arms and let him hold her. I wanted to give you a surprise when I came back, so I didn't tell you. As Xianyuan Mose spoke, his hands under the water gently caressed her waist. I've already asked my father's side to prepare, and I've also instructed people to decorate the manor. I heard them say that we can't meet before the wedding, so I thought of secretly coming over to see you before leaving. You don't plan on staying here for a few more days? Fengzhou was slightly surprised. Aren't you tired from running back and forth? Hearing this, Xianyuan Mose's lips slightly hooked. You don't want me to leave. As he spoke, his hands moved up her waist. Don't mess around, I'm talking to you about serious matters. Fengzhou glared at him with a red face and pulled his mischievous hands down. Xianyuan Mose gave a low laugh. I came back to accompany you for a few days this time, then I have to leave. I have to go back and prepare for the wedding. I can't leave everything to the servants. As he spoke, he handed her the towel beside the bathtub. Help me wipe my back. Fengzhou took it and then moved from his embrace to his back. Xianyuan leaned against the bathtub and said, "You can stay here for a while. I'll come pick you up when the time comes." Fengjiu helped him scrub his back as she said, "I reckon that when we get married, there will be a lot of people who will come to congratulate us." When I entered the residence, I saw Gu Xiangyi and Yi Shiran also come, Xianyuan said with narrowed eyes. Gu Xiangyi happened to find out that his family was in trouble when we came back, so I helped him out in passing. After he took care of his family's matters, he came over to see if there was anything he needed help with. As for Yi Shiran, I just saw him today. The two chatted idly until the water gradually cooled. Xianyuan turned around and stood up. He said to Fengjiu, "The water's cold, don't soak anymore." As he spoke, he stepped out of the bathtub and used a large towel to wipe the water off his body. Then, he scooped Fengjiu out of the bathtub and wrapped her in a large towel before walking to the bed. Chapter 34:66. Their warm lips pressed against each other, and the passionate kiss made her a little breathless. However, just as she was about to push him away, he had already laid down beside her. At the same time, he reached out to pull up the blanket to cover her. With a pair of large hands, she rolled into his embrace. "Ajo, I'm really looking forward to the day of our wedding." Hearing his words, Fengjiu's heart was burning with passion. She reached out to wrap her arms around his waist and said with a smile, "You've waited for so many years. Now that the day of our wedding is right in front of us, you're in such a hurry." "And I'm in a hurry to make you my woman," he said in a low voice. Because he had rushed all the way back, he was a little sleepy. Now that he was holding her in his arms, he gradually closed his eyes and fell asleep. Feeling his breathing slow, as if he had fallen asleep, Fengjiu raised her head slightly to take a look, then quietly nestled in his arms. The next day, Xianyuan and Fengjiu went to see the elders of the Feng family together to discuss the marriage. Then, the two slowly walked in the garden, enjoying this rare moment of peace. Leng Hua walked over from the path. When he saw the two of them, he bowed and said, "Master, Ning Lang and the others have arrived. They're currently going to the front yard to see the old master and the others. It seems that they've also received the news." Fengjiu chuckled and walked into the pavilion with Xianyuan while saying to Leng Hua, "Let them come over later. Speaking of which, I haven't seen them for many years." "Yes." Leng Hua responded and then retreated. "How hasn't been running around in front of you recently?" Xianyuan asked. After the maidservant served tea and pastries, he poured a cup of tea for Fengjiu. Fengjiu picked up a piece of pastry and ate it. He smiled and said, "Ever since I came back, Hao has been called by my father and the others. In name, they are giving him pointers on cultivation and martial arts. In reality, there are also children as young as him in the family. Now that they see him, they all like him very much. Moreover, my brother often brings his son over to accompany Hao. Throughout the day, I probably only see him when we eat." The two of them chatted, drank tea, and ate pastries. Not long after, they heard footsteps approaching. Fengjiu and Xianyuan looked in the direction of the voice and saw a few men in luxurious clothes with extraordinary bearing walking over while chatting and laughing. Xianyuan glanced at them, then looked away indifferently. He picked up the teapot and poured some hot tea for Fengjiu. He also knew those people. He didn't expect them to become more mature after so many years. Fengjiu also sized them up. Compared to their youthful appearances a few years ago, they were more mature now. Moreover, each of them had a more outstanding bearing. Well, they came from extraordinary backgrounds and had high standards. After a few years, it was normal for them to become more outstanding. Thinking of this, she smiled and said, "We haven't seen each other for a few years. It seems that all of you are doing well." Song Ming, Ning Lang, and the others looked at Fengjiu. They saw that she was still dressed in red and dazzling. She sat there lazily and casually, but exuded an extraordinary noble aura. They couldn't help but be moved. When he had first met her, she was full of mischievous and cunning aura. Now, as time passed, the mischievous and cunning aura on her body had been restrained. What replaced it was only elegance and indifference. Chapter 34:67. However, although her aura had changed, her appearance was still as dazzling and captivating as ever. Looking at this woman who was both a teacher and a friend to them, they adjusted their expressions and stepped forward to cup their hands in greeting. Greetings, Yama Lord, Ghost Doctor. With Xianyuan Mo's and Fingzhou's current stature, they were too insignificant. As they grew up, they naturally couldn't call Fingzhou by her name like they used to. It was a little offensive. Although they still preferred to call her Fingzhou, they felt a little helpless because of the warnings from their elders before they left. Hearing how they addressed her, Fingzhou raised her eyebrows and said with a half-smile, "You guys are becoming distant with me. You used to call me by my name. What's wrong? What are you doing with your hands and feet tied?" Hearing her words, they blushed and couldn't help but look at each other. In the end, Songming stepped forward and said with a smile, "It's not that we want to be distant with you, but when we left, the elders in our families told us to control our temper and not be too impudent in front of you. Furthermore, when we came over, we heard from Leng Hua that you're already the ruler of this world. This made us even more afraid to call you by your name." Hearing this, Fingzhou laughed softly. "I didn't think that there would be a day when you guys wouldn't dare." Looking at their expressions, she seemed to be very happy. "Alright, it's not like I don't know what kind of people you are. There's no need to put on an act in front of me. Just do what's comfortable. There's no need for so many rules." When they heard this, their faces broke into smiles. "We're relieved to hear that. Fingzhou, you're too much. You and the Yama Lord are getting married, and you didn't even send us an invitation. You didn't even inform us. If we hadn't heard the news, we wouldn't have known that you were back." Luo Fei said. "There were a lot of things to do this time, so I didn't send out the invitations. Moreover, I also know that once the news spreads, you will also come. It's the same whether I have an invitation or not." She chuckled and said to Leng Hua, "Set up a small table in this garden and invite Gu Xiangyi and the others over for a gathering." "Okay." Leng Hua responded, then turned around and left. "Fingzhou, how long do you plan to stay here this time? Are you going to settle down here or go back to the upper realm?" Ning Lang asked as his eyes fell on Xianyuan Mo's and Fingzhou. Their strength had increased rapidly over the years, but they had not expected that when they saw them again, they were actually god kings. Such heaven-defying existences were actually right in front of them. Fingzhou ate a pastry and said casually, "It's hard to say. Maybe we'll stay a little longer, or maybe we'll go back to live there. However, Leng Hua probably hasn't told you yet, right? There's an immortal path between the upper realm and the lower realm. When the time comes, if you want to go, you can also go to the upper realm to take a look." Hearing this, they couldn't help but look at each other in disbelief. Songming asked, "You mean, no matter what cultivation level we have, we can also go to the upper realm?" "Yes, that's right." Chapter 34:68. Xianyuan Mo's didn't really like pastries, but when she handed it to him, he opened his mouth and ate it. After eating the pastry, he took a sip of tea. The taste is all right. It's not very sweet." In his heart, he thought that since she liked it, he would have the servants at his residence make more pastries that she liked. Songming and the others watched the two people feeding each other in the pavilion and couldn't help but be dumbfounded. "We're still standing here, all right. They're actually flaunting their affection right in front of us." For a moment, they couldn't leave, but they couldn't stay either. This made them feel a little awkward. Fingzhou glanced at them from the corner of his eye, then chuckled. "Do you guys want to try it too?" As he spoke, he picked up a pastry and suddenly attacked Song Ming. Song Ming was stunned for a moment before he hurriedly reacted and reached out to catch it. He deflected the force of the attack with his palm, preventing the pastry from breaking into pieces and lying in his palm. However, when Song Ming caught the pastry, Feng Zhou threw another 3 pieces at Ning Lang and the other 2. Seeing that they all caught the pastries, Feng Zhou smiled and said, "Open your hands for me to see." Song Ming opened his hands and said with a smile, "If you want to test our skills, you should at least give us a warning." This sudden attack really gave me a fright. His pastry was intact and didn't break. Because Luo Fei, Ning Lang, and the others were half a beat slower, they crushed a corner of the pastry in their hands. At this moment, they saw Feng Zhou's gaze and couldn't help but smile in embarrassment. I accidentally used too much strength. At this moment, Ling Hua had people bring small wine tables over and placed them in the garden. Gu Xiangyi and Yi Shuran also walked over. Everyone gathered in the garden and looked at each other before introducing themselves. Feng Zhou took out some wine from the space to entertain them. As they drank the wine on the table, they gradually loosened their restraints. On the other side, the white-clothed Imo Chen stood before her master at the peak of Celestial Mountain. She gave a simple report of what had happened in the past few years to her master. After a long time, she did not hear her master speak, so she raised her head to look. Tianji listened to Imo Chen's words and did not speak for a long time. When he saw Tianji looking at him, he could not help but sigh softly. "So, in these 5 years, you have been cultivating in the sacred tower and have not been able to sever your feelings?" Imo Chen didn't expect his master to say this right away. He paused for a moment, then pursed his lips and lowered his head. He didn't say anything, because he didn't know what to say. The air seemed to have quieted down. Outside, snowflakes drifted down and the cold wind whistled, breaking the silence of that moment. Tianji sighed softly. "Silly child." He shook his head and stood up. With his hands behind his back, he walked slowly and looked at the vast expanse of whiteness outside. After a long while, he said, "So, Feng Zhou and Xianyuan Mose are preparing to get married?" "Yes, they are preparing to go back and get married. This disciple wants to attend their wedding banquet, so I came back to see Master before I left. I also wanted to tell Master about what had happened in the past few years." Chapter 3469. Hearing this, Tianji sighed and said, Forget it. Go." As he spoke, he turned around and slowly walked away, leaving Imo Chen standing alone at the peak, watching the snowflakes fall from the sky. After a long time, he raised his hand to brush off the snowflakes on his body and walked down the mountain step by step. Phoenix Dynasty, Feng Manor. After staying in Feng Manor for a few days, Xianyuan Mose bid farewell to the elders in the manor and prepared to leave. Feng Zhou sent him out of the city. Along the way, their fingers were interlocked and they did not speak. Only when they reached the city gates did they stop. "Go back. Wait for me to marry you." As Xianyuan Mose spoke, he reached out and tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear, feeling a trace of reluctance in his heart. Feng Zhou looked at him and reached out to hold his hand, gently saying, "Be careful on the road. I'll wait for you." And Xianyuan Mose made a sound of agreement and looked at her deeply. Then, he turned to look at Hao and reminded him, "Be good." "Yes, father." Hao responded and looked up at him. "Ghost Doctor, we'll be leaving first." Hui Lang and Ying Yi bowed to her with smiles on their faces. After waiting for so many years, their master could finally marry the Ghost Doctor. Thinking that perhaps in another year or 2, they would have a little master, they felt even more joyful. There was even a faint trace of anticipation. They really wanted to see who the child born from their master and Dr. Ghost would look like. "Go." Feng Zhou nodded slightly and smiled. Hui Lang and Ying Yi cupped their hands to Lang Hua and Lang Shuang, who was holding Hao Er's hand, then quickly followed their master and left. After watching them leave in the flying ship, Feng Jiu looked at Hao Er and smiled. Since we're all out, Mother will bring you to Peach Blossom Cove. You haven't been there to play yet. Hao Er's eyes lit up. Is it where Aunt Qianhua lives? And it's there. Feng Jiu reached out and pinched his cheeks. She picked him up and threw Fei Yu to sit down with Hao Er. Lang Hua and Lang Shuang rode on their swords and followed beside her, heading to Peach Blossom Cove. In the Peach Blossom Cove, Jun Jueshang was looking at Wanyan Qianhua, who was swinging on the swing, with a dark face. He was guarding by her side, his heart jumping up and down as she swung. He was afraid that she would accidentally fly out. Wanyan Qianhua acted as if she didn't see him. She grabbed the rope of the swing with both hands and swung. She had been pregnant for a few months, and the fetus had stabilized. She knew that there wouldn't be any accidents when swinging. After all, in her opinion, swinging was not a big deal. But when she saw Jun Jueshang standing by her side, she was speechless. Every time she swung forward, his gaze would follow closely. Every time she swung, his gaze would follow closely. Being stared at by him like that, even when she swung on the swing, she felt uncomfortable. Have you seen enough? What do you want to do by following me all day? Wanyan Qianhua's temper rose again. She stopped and stared at Jun Jueshang angrily. Chapter 3470. Ha! Wanyan Qianhua sat on the swing and sneered. How would I dare to trouble the Xiaoyao sect's patriarch to accompany me? You're a high and mighty person. You're not in the same world as me. You'd better stay away from me. Jun Jueshang glanced at her when he heard her strange words and said, You were the one who provoked me first. You raped me, and you're pregnant with my child. Now you want to kick me away. Wanyan Qianhua choked. Her beautiful eyes glared at him angrily. What do you mean by I provoked you first? Who was the one who saved me? If you hadn't saved me, would I have pestered you? She snorted and said, Besides, you're the one who took advantage of her. I've never heard of a man being taken advantage of. As for the child, it has nothing to do with you. I've already said it 800 times, the child is mine. Jun Jueshang looked at her with a strange look in his eyes. He didn't expect such sophistry to come out of her mouth. It was really surprising. Could it be that all women were so unreasonable when they wanted to act shamelessly? He knew he couldn't get through to her, so he didn't bicker with her. He just walked forward and asked, Do you want to walk back with me? Or do you want me to carry you back? Looking at him walking over step by step, Wanyan Qianhua thought of some of the tough methods he had used these days. She immediately stood up and said, It's not like I don't have legs. As she spoke, she brushed her dress and walked back. Jun Jueshang saw her go back, and he followed her at a moderate pace. The two of them walked, and they could faintly hear Wanyan Qianhua's disdainful voice. Wanyan Shersan was lying on a peach tree and drinking wine. He glanced at the direction the two of them left, and couldn't help but shake his head and mutter, They're really two enemies. Since Jun Jueshang had come, he hadn't been of any use. He had nothing to do all day. However, the two of them were quite interesting. They wouldn't stop fighting if they didn't quarrel for a day. Of course, he could see that Jun Jueshang had been giving way to his niece, Qianhua. Jun Jueshang's good temper had surprised him. However, he didn't know when these two people would stop. He tilted his head back and drank a mouthful of wine, then closed his eyes and fell asleep on the tree. He thought that it would be good to find time to take a stroll around Fengjiu's residence. At this moment, Fengjiu, who had already arrived at the Peach Blossom Cove, said to Hao Er, Look, this is the Peach Blossom Cove. Is it nice? As she spoke, she put away Flying Feather, and the two landed steadily. Looking at the peach blossom forest before him, how Er's eyes lit up. Mother, do the peach trees here bear peaches? And they do. The peach blossoms here come in batches. Some are blooming, and some are bearing fruit. There are flowers and fruits all year round. She chuckled and gestured, go and play by yourself. Just don't leave the peach blossom cove. And How replied, then turned to look at Leng Shuang. Aunt Shuang, can you come with me? Go. Fengzhou gestured for Leng Shuang to accompany him. Thus, the two of them walked towards the peach blossom forest. After seeing them enter the peach blossom forest, Fengzhou brought Leng Hua to find Jun Ju Shang and Wanyan Qianhua. Behind them, Yixiran, Gu Xiangyi, and Du Fan were also heading towards the peach blossom cove. Chapter 3471. This is nourishing. It's suitable for you. Jun Juashang scooped a bowl of soup and placed it in front of her. If this is nourishing, what is this for? Wanyan Qianhua pointed at another bowl of soup and asked angrily. Jun Juashang glanced at it and said, it's for the baby. What about this? She pointed at another bowl and asked. It's for the heart and lungs. Her temper was not very good recently. Her heart was too hot. That was why he asked people to make these soups. Anyway, they were suitable for pregnant women. Hearing these words, Wanyan Qianhua was so angry that she could not speak. She took a deep breath and stood up. She turned around and went into the room. She locked the door. Out of sight, out of mind. Seeing this, Jun Juashang frowned. He stared at the soup on the table for a while and finally said, you have to drink at least one. No. Take it away. If you want to drink, drink it yourself. Wanyan Qianhua's voice came from the room. Fengzhou walked in and heard this. He could not help but chuckle, what's wrong now? She glanced at the things on the table and raised her eyebrows. She walked forward and opened them to smell. Then she looked at Jun Juashang, are all these things for my sister? She only had a bowl of soup this morning. Jun Juashang said. Hearing this, Fengzhou smiled and said, I haven't eaten anything since I came out of the house. Well, I can drink some of the other soup except for the one for the baby. While speaking, she had already scooped a bowl of soup for herself. She shouted to Wanyan Qianhua in the room, Sister, come out and eat with me. Wanyan Qianhua in the room heard that Fengzhou had come. She was about to come out. However, thinking that Jun Juashang was still there, she did not move. Now that she heard Fengzhou calling her out to drink soup with her, she thought for a while and opened the door and walked out. You little girl, why didn't you eat at home? Why did you come here? What's so good about this soup? Wanyan Qianhua said with a look of disdain. She said to Leng Hua, go to the kitchen and ask someone to cook 2 dishes. Bring 2 bowls of rice here. Your master can't eat enough soup alone. Leng Hua smiled and nodded. Fengzhou. Seeing that it was her, Wanyan Qianhua didn't say anything. He took the bowl and drank half of it. Who knew that as soon as he finished, another bowl of soup was pushed over. This. As Jun Juashang spoke, he pushed the bowl of soup in front of her. However, he saw that her face immediately darkened. Fengzhou saw it and could not help laughing. She did not ask her to drink the soup. Instead, she said, Sister, give me your hand. I'll check your pulse and see how the baby is. Wanyan Qianhua suppressed her anger when she heard Fengzhou's words. She held out her hand and said worriedly, take a look. I feel that my temper is not very good these days. Will it affect the baby? Fengzhou checked her pulse. She took her hand back and said with a smile, your pulse is very stable. Don't worry. But you should try to keep your mood relaxed. The baby can feel your happy mood. She looked at Jun Juashang and asked, how are your skills? Jun Jueshang did not know what she meant. He looked at her and said, not bad. Chapter 3472. Hearing this, Jun Jueshang was slightly startled. He looked at Wanyan Qianhua and glanced at her abdomen. He nodded and said, yes, I understand. Wanyan Qianhua ignored him. She looked at Fingzhou and asked, there's only about a month left until you and Mose get married. Why do you keep coming here? Don't you need help with the matters in the residence? Fingzhou smiled and said, my parents are taking care of those matters. I don't need to do anything. As for the wedding dress and the like, Mose told me that he'll prepare it. After a while, he'll send someone to deliver it to me. So right now, I can be said to be the most idle person here. Once the news of your marriage spreads, it can be said that it has caused a sensation in both the upper world and the lower world. I'm worried that someone will take the opportunity to cause trouble. Wanyan Qianhua said. She was worried about their wedding. Forget about the people in the lower world. But in the upper world, as well as the hidden enemies, would they take advantage of their wedding to cause trouble? Fengzhou shook his head and said, no, I don't think they have the guts. They had also discussed this matter. However, in the end, they felt that their enemies would not dare to use their wedding as an excuse to cause trouble. Not to mention the fact that they were god kings, the people who would come to congratulate them would be experts from all over the world. Those people would have to be tired of living to cause a ruckus at such an occasion. The two of them chatted while drinking soup. Jun Jueshang sat quietly to the side. From time to time, he would add soup for Wanyan Qianhua when she was talking to Fingzhou and not paying attention. This continued until Lang Hua personally brought the dishes over. With Fingzhou accompanying her, Wanyan Qianhua ate half a bowl of rice. In the peach blossom forest, Hao Er wandered around and met Wanyan Shersan, who was a little tipsy. Ling Shuang. And this kid? Why are you here? Wanyan Shersan narrowed his eyes, burped, and asked, Fingzhou is here too. Seeing that he was slightly drunk and his body was swaying, Ling Shuang took half a step back and said, Master is in the front courtyard. Oh, Wanyan Shersan replied. He looked at the two of them and asked, You're not going? We're going to pick peaches, Hao Er said. He looked at him and said, You're drunk. As he spoke, he pulled Ling Shuang back a little because he didn't like the smell of alcohol on him. Wanyan Shersan grinned and laughed. Drunk? How can I get drunk so easily? He reached out to touch Hao Er's head, but Hao Er stepped back and tripped over a rock. He lost his balance and fell back with Ling Shuang. Be careful, Ling Shuang said. He moved and reached out to support him. Unexpectedly, Wanyan Shersan saw him fall back and also reached out to support him. At this time, the two of them came together unexpectedly and almost collided. Ling Shuang instinctively moved back to avoid them, but because he was pulled by Hao Er, he also fell to the ground. Wanyan Shersan instinctively wanted to avoid it. However, he, who was slightly drunk, inadvertently glanced at Ling Shuang and saw that there was a sharp stone as big as a fist on the ground behind her. If he let her fall, she would be hurt. At that moment, he, who was about to retreat, leaned forward and reached out to hold her waist. He pulled her up together with Hao Er, who was about to fall. Chapter 3473. However, at this moment, Wanyan Shersan let go of his hand and took a step back. He burped and staggered backward, waving his hand. Be careful, don't fall. There are stones on the ground. I'm going back to sleep. As he spoke, he turned to leave. However, he saw Du Fan and the others standing not far away. He grinned and said, Why are you all here? There are so many unfamiliar faces. Du Fan, Gu Xiangyi, and the others had seen the scene just now. When they saw that the two people's expressions were normal, they suppressed their surprise and walked forward. Du Fan smiled and said, they have nothing to do, so I accompanied them to the Peach Blossom Cove for a walk. Ling Shuang was about to leave with Hao, but when he saw them, he also walked forward. Do you need me to accompany you? Wan Yen Shirsan asked with a smile. There was a hint of drunkenness on his face. His body swayed slightly as he said, I've lived here for a long time and I'm familiar with this place. If you need me to accompany you, I don't mind drinking with you. Du Fan fanned himself with the fan in his hand and walked in front of him. He smiled and said, no need, I'll just walk with them. We're all family, so there's no need to be so formal. Seeing this, Wanyan 13 nodded and said, that's fine. You can do whatever you want. As he spoke, he hummed a tuneless tune and walked back with swaying steps. After he left, Du Fan looked at Ling Shuang and Hao, Do you want to walk around the peach blossom forest too? Yes, Ling Shuang responded and did not say anything else. Hao said, I want to see the peaches. In that case, let's go together. Du Fan smiled and looked at the people behind him. He asked, what do you all think? It's my first time here. I want to see the beautiful scenery here. It's great to have you all accompany me, Gu Xiangyi said. Yi Shiran glanced at the surroundings and said, I'd better just walk around casually. You guys go ahead. He was not very interested in the peach blossom forest. Rather than looking at the peach blossoms and peaches, he would rather find a place to sit down and drink. The four of us walked around the last time we came back, so we won't be going. Song Ming smiled and looked at Luo Fei and the others. How about we find a place to drink? My thoughts exactly. Duan Yi, Luo Fei, and Ning Lang replied. Seeing this, Du Fan smiled and looked at Ling Shuang. If that's the case, I'll accompany them. I'll leave young Master Gu to Ling Shuang. Hearing this, Ling Shuang was stunned, and Gu Xiangyi's eyes flashed. She smiled at Ling Shuang and said, sorry to trouble you. Ling Shuang nodded slightly and then walked with him and Hao, to the peach forest. Seeing them leave, the others smiled and walked to the other side, ready to find a place to sit down and drink. Gu Xiangyi, who was walking with Ling Shuang in the peach blossom forest, suddenly felt that the two of them walking like this did not know what to talk about. She felt a little awkward in the silence. After walking for a while, Hao saw another peach blossom forest in front of them. Seeing that there were peaches there, he ran forward excitedly, leaving the two of them walking behind. Thank you so much for last time. Gu Xiangyi opened her mouth and broke the silence between the two. Chapter 34-74. You've already thanked Master, she said faintly and walked forward unhurriedly. Gu Xiangyi looked ahead and said, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have met Fengzhou. So, I still have to thank you. Hearing this, Ling Shuang didn't say anything. She just walked quietly and looked at Hao, who was playing in the peach forest. Gu Xiangyi quietly accompanied him. The two of them came to the peach forest and stood under a peach tree, watching Hao, climb up the tree. Aunt Shuang, can we pick some peaches to take back? Hao, asked from the tree. Looking at the mouth-watering peaches, he couldn't help but pick one, wipe it clean, and take a bite. Yes, pick more. Give some to Miss Wan Yen and the others, and bring some back to the residence, Ling Shuang said and took out 2 baskets from his space. When Hao heard this, he happily agreed. He ate the peach in his hand in a few bites. Then, he picked the biggest peach and threw it down. Auntie Shuang, catch. Ling Shuang stood below and caught the peaches. He put the peaches in the baskets. After picking 2 baskets full of peaches, Ling Shuang was about to lift them when he saw Gu Xiangyi bending down to pick them up. I'll do it. Gu Xiangyi said and looked at her and Hao, Are we going back? Ling Shuang looked at Hao, and Hao, agreed. Then, the three of them walked back. Fengjiu accompanied Wang Yanqianhua out for a walk and saw a few people drinking under the peach tree. Seeing them, she raised her eyebrows. Why are you here? The scenery here is good. It's perfect for drinking and parties. Song Ming said and glanced at Fengjiu and Wang Yanqianhua, then looked at Jun Jueshang. Do you want to drink a few cups? Duan Yi asked. No, I just had dinner with my sister and was about to take a walk, Fengjiu said. Mother. How? Er's voice came from nearby. Fengjiu looked over and saw the little figure running over. His little face was flushed with excitement. Mother, we picked peaches. Look. He pointed behind him. Fengjiu looked over and saw Gu Xiangyi and Ling Shuang walking over. Gu Xiangyi was carrying 2 baskets of peaches. Seeing the two of them, Fengjiu smiled and rubbed Er's head. Go wash the peaches with Ling Shuang and cut some for everyone to eat. Okay, replied and trotted to Ling Shuang's side. Gu Xiangyi put down the peaches and watched as Ling Shuang and took some to wash. She then said, You didn't let anyone pick the peaches in the peach forest, did you? Someone will come regularly to pick them and brew them into wine. Fengjiu smiled and said, Since you're all here, I'll have someone bring some peach wine for you to try. As Fengjiu spoke, he looked at Lang Hua and gestured. Lang Hua understood and turned to leave. Not long after, he came back with a jar of wine and placed it next to everyone. I'll pour. Du Fan said and poured a cup for everyone. He also poured a cup for himself to try. The taste of peaches was thick in the mouth. The taste of the wine was not very strong, but the texture was very special. It made everyone feel that it was unique. The more they drank, the better it tasted. They stayed there until the sky gradually darkened. Only then did they return to the Feng Manor with Fengjiu. In the following days, because the day of the wedding approached, the Feng Manor became more and more joyous. About half a month passed. One morning, Hui Lang came to the Feng Manor with a smile on his face. Chapter 3475. I'm here on Master's orders to deliver the wedding dress for the ghost doctor. Hui Lang said with a smile, asking, Has the ghost doctor woken up? She wouldn't still be sleeping right now, right? Du Fan looked at the sky and said, You've come early. Master is indeed still sleeping. As he spoke, he walked inside with him, saying, Go inside and tell Ling Shuang. Let Ling Shuang see if Master is awake. Hearing this, Hui Lang waved his hand and said, No rush, no rush. My master had me deliver something and left it here. I'm not in a hurry to go back. When the ghost doctor wakes up, I'll give it to her. Seeing this, Du Fan said, All right then. You're familiar with the manor, so you can go rest. I still have matters to attend to, so I won't accompany you. All right. Go ahead. Hui Lang said. He didn't ask him to accompany him and walked inside. In the manor's backyard, Feng Sanyuan was eating breakfast with Su Shi. Thinking of his youngest son, he couldn't help but sigh. Feng Yi wasn't able to come back when Feng Girl got married this time. I haven't seen him for many years. I wonder if that boy has grown taller. Speaking of which, he also missed his youngest son. It was just that when he sent him back that year, it was said that he couldn't leave the mountain until the time was right. He hadn't come back in all these years, so they also missed him. Hearing this, a longing expression appeared on Su Shi's face. She said, That's right. I haven't seen Yi for many years. However, this can't be helped. After a few more years, when he leaves the mountain, he can come back to see us. After what happened that year, as long as her son was alive, it didn't matter if she couldn't see him. On the other side, Feng Shao, who had just finished practicing, walked into the courtyard with large strides and called, Wanrong. Shangguan Wanrong came out, looked at Feng Xiao and asked, "What's wrong?" "I just met Hui Lang in front. He said that Mo's asked him to send a wedding dress to Xiaozhou. Later, you can go to Xiaozhou's courtyard and see if there's anything that needs to be changed," Feng Xiao said as he sat down at the table and poured himself a glass of water. Hearing this, Shangguan Wanrong revealed a gentle smile. "Okay, I understand." She gave Feng Xiao a set of clothes and said, "I've already asked someone to prepare water for you. You just came back from practicing martial arts, so you're covered in sweat. Go take a bath. I've put your clothes here." Seeing her busy there, Feng Xiao laughed and said, "Let the servants do it. You don't have to do it. By the way, have you eaten breakfast?" "Not yet. We'll wait for you to come back so that we can eat together," Shangguan Wanrong said as she walked outside and told the maid to prepare. "How many times have I said that you don't have to wait for me? If you're hungry, you can eat first," Feng Xiao said as he walked towards the washroom and said, "I'll go change and eat with you later." "Okay." Shangguan Wanrong softly responded and asked, "Do you need me to help you wipe your back?" "No need. I can do it myself. I don't want to get your dress wet," Feng Xiao said as he let her go out first. Seeing this, Shangguan Wanrong went to sit in the courtyard and prepared to go to her daughter's courtyard after breakfast to see if there was anything that needed to be prepared. On the other side, Fengjiu walked out of the room after washing up and stretching. He went to the soft couch in the courtyard and lay down. He felt that the recent days had been too leisurely and boring. Chapter 3476. Fengjiu, who was lazily lying on the soft couch, heard this and immediately became alert. "Hui Lang is here. Why is he here? Where is he? Tell him to come." He said that he was following the Yama Lord's orders to deliver the wedding dress to Master. Because he came early in the morning, he didn't disturb Master. "I'll go call him over now," Ling Shuang said and then retreated. Wedding dress. Fengjiu lay back on the soft couch, her hands behind her head. She looked at the sky and thought, Zay said that he would prepare the wedding dress. I wonder what kind of wedding dress he'll prepare. It had to be said that at this moment, she was really looking forward to it. Not long after, Ling Shuang and Hui Lang walked in together. "Ghost Doctor." Hui Lang smiled as he walked in. "Master told me to deliver the wedding dress. The Ghost Doctor will definitely like it." Fengjiu sat up and asked, "Where is it? Take it out and let me see." Hui Lang made a sound of agreement and then took out a large square box from his space. He carried the large box to Fengjiu and said to Ling Shuang, "Ling Shuang, help me open the box." Ling Shuang stepped forward and opened the large box, then retreated to the side. His eyes naturally looked towards the large box, and he couldn't help but be unable to move his eyes away. Fengjiu watched as the box was opened. In an instant, brilliant lights and vibrant colors shone out, causing her eyes to be dazzled. Although she didn't pick up the wedding dress and unfold it, just by looking at it, she knew that this wedding dress was very beautiful and dazzling. This was already beyond the scope of a wedding dress. It could be said that it was a dazzling immortal dress. The dazzling red and noble gold set off each other, so beautiful that it made people unable to move their eyes away. When Hui Lang saw the surprise in Fengjiu's eyes and the joy on his face, the smile on his face deepened. He was about to speak with a smug look on his face when he heard Shangguan Wanrong's voice behind him. "Xiaozhou, I heard that Mo's asked Hui Lang to send you a wedding dress. What kind of wedding dress is it?" Shangguan Wanrong dismissed the two servant girls behind her and slowly walked in. When Hui Lang and Ling Shuang saw her, they hurriedly bowed and greeted her, "Madam." Shangguan Wanrong indicated that the two of them didn't need to be overly courteous and walked forward. "Mother." Fengjiu stood up and walked forward to support her hand. He smiled and said, "Mother, you've come just in time. Hui Lang just brought me the wedding dress." I'm just opening it and looking at it. I haven't taken it out yet. Shangwan Wanrong looked at the dazzling wedding dress in the box and the smile on her face overflowed. It's extremely beautiful just looking at it. Also, this wedding dress shouldn't be an ordinary item. It must have been hard on him to be able to find such a wedding dress for you in such a short time. Hui Lang listened and hurriedly nodded. Madam has good eyes. This is indeed not an ordinary wedding dress. He grinned and looked at them. This dress is called the Thousand Illusions Colored Glass Robe. Not only is it a wedding dress, it's also an immortal rank defensive dress. Furthermore, it can be changed into several styles at will. The golden thread on it is the Scarlet Flame golden thread that Master specially found. It's incomparably tough and hard to be broken by swords. Wearing this dress is said to be as light as a cicada's wing and extremely comfortable. You won't feel the weight of the dress at all. The more he spoke, the more excited he became. He said, Ghost Doctor, do you want to try it first? This Thousand Illusions colored glass robe is a wedding dress. After wearing it, you'll feel different. Since Madam is also here, it'll be good to let her see it. Chapter 3477. Hearing this, Fengjiu thought for a moment, then said, That's fine, let's try it on. Thus, she had Ling Shuang take the box containing the clothes from Hui Lang's hands, and walked towards the room. Hui Lang waited outside, while Shangwan Wanrong and Ling Shuang accompanied Fengjiu into the room to change. In the room, when Shangwan Wanrong and Ling Shuang took the clothes out of the box, they discovered that the new wedding dress was actually a long dress with a trailing tail, extremely luxurious and dazzling. Layers of light muslin overlapped, but it was as light as a cicada's wing, as smooth as silk. Shangwan Wanrong saw this, and her face overflowed with a smile. Quickly put it on and see. This wedding dress must be extremely beautiful on you. Seeing this, Fengjiu let the two of them help her put on the dress. Because it was a wedding dress, it looked grand and luxurious. The entire wedding dress was mainly red, supplemented by gold. On the red wedding dress, there was a lifelike phoenix embroidered with gold thread. The extremely long skirt, sleeves, and collar also had golden lotus flowers, dazzling and eye-catching. Just putting on this dress took nearly the time it takes to burn a stick of incense. After the new wedding dress was put on, Shangwan Wanrong looked at her daughter in front of her, and her eyes couldn't help but be filled with pride and amazement. My daughter is really beautiful. This wedding dress really suits you. Wearing the luxurious and dazzling wedding dress, her entire body exuded a noble aura. That kind of innate noble aura forced people to be unable to look directly at her, leaving only heartfelt admiration. Fengjiu looked at the figure in the mirror, and couldn't help but purse her lips and smile. Following her thoughts, the luxurious and noble wedding dress on her body changed into a simple red dress. This dress is really not bad, Fengjiu said, taking off the dress and having Ling Shuang fold it up and put it back into her red dress. Shangwan Wanrong said with a smile, I originally thought it was an ordinary wedding dress, so I came to see if it fit, and if it needed to be changed. I didn't expect it to be this kind of dress, and I don't even need to change it. Fengjiu held her mother's hand and walked out. Hui Lang, who was waiting outside, came up to them and asked with a grin, Ghost Doctor, how are the clothes? Is it suitable? Fengjiu pursed his lips and smiled. It's suitable. I like it very much. I'll send a message to Zay later. That's good. Hui Lang replied with a smile, Master asked me to stay here. I will help out here during this period of time and wait for Master's wedding procession to arrive. As they were talking, they suddenly heard the sound of thunder in the sky. Fengjiu and the others were slightly surprised and looked up at the sky. Strange, why is there thunder in broad daylight? Hui Lang muttered as he looked at the sky. He saw that the sky was blue and white clouds, and it didn't look like it was going to rain. Hearing the sound of thunder, Fengjiu's eyes deepened. The smile on his face disappeared and his expression became thoughtful. Seeing her like this, Shangwan Wanrong couldn't help but worry and asked, "What's wrong?" Fengjiu smiled slightly and comforted, "It's nothing." Her voice paused and said, "Mother, you go back first. I want to go to Peach Blossom Cove." Hearing this, Shangwan Wanrong said, "Qian Hua lives in Peach Blossom Cove. It's not as good as living in the manor. Why don't you let her move in?" "No need, she likes it there. It's quiet there, and Jun Ju Shang and Wan Yanshur-san are there. Don't worry about her," Fengjiu said with a smile. Chapter 3478. She was worried that she would bear everything in her heart. That lightning just now was not ordinary. However, she did not say anything. It seemed that she had to go back and ask Feng Xiao and the old man. "I know. Mother, don't worry." Fengjiu smiled and walked her out of the courtyard. He told the servant girl waiting outside, "Send madam back." "Yes." The servant girl replied and went to Shangwan Wanrong's side. Shangwan Wanrong saw this and left without saying anything else. "Ghost doctor, is there something wrong with that lightning?" Hui Lang asked after Shangwan Wanrong left. Fengjiu looked at the sky and thought deeply, "It is indeed not ordinary lightning. It is the lightning of the Divine King realm." Ling Shuang and Hui Lang's expressions became serious when they heard this. Lightning of the Divine King realm. Their people were all here, so who would be the one to advance to the God King level? If it was someone on their side, it would be fine. However, if it was an enemy, it would be troublesome. Thinking of this, Grey Wolf asked, "Ghost Doctor, who do you think will become a divine king? Could it be young Master Mo Chin?" "It's not me." Suddenly, a gentle voice came from outside. Hearing that familiar voice, everyone in the courtyard looked out and saw Mo Chin, dressed in white, slowly walking in. "If it's not you, then it's very likely to be an enemy," Fengjiu said and smiled. "I thought you would only come on the day of my wedding." Mo Chin walked forward slowly and looked at her. "I was afraid that I would be delayed on the way, so I came here after going to Heaven Mountain. As soon as I arrived, I heard the sound of thunder in the sky." He paused for a moment before asking, "What are your plans?" "Before you came, I wanted to go to Peach Blossom Cove to discuss with Junju Shang and Wan Yanshur-san. The birth of another immortal king-level expert in this world was definitely not a small matter. It should be known that if it was an enemy, then the enemy's strength would increase by quite a bit. Between the upper and lower realms, apart from Sovereign Tong Tian and Sovereign Xuanwu, only she and Mo Zhe had reached the Divine King realm. Before this, they had 3 Divine Kings on their side. On Sovereign Tongtian's side, apart from Sovereign Tong Tian, the Demon Lord and the person with the Black Lotus of Destruction were the ones they feared the most. Just who exactly was this newly born God King level expert? They still had to find a way to find out. At the very least, they had to be mentally prepared so that they wouldn't be caught off guard one day. Then let's have someone check it out. Let's see who has advanced. Mo Chin looked at her and said, "Don't worry, I won't let anyone ruin your wedding with Mo's." Hearing this, Fengjiu looked at him deeply and said, "I don't think they will do anything on the day of the wedding. After all, there will be many experts who won't come to congratulate us. Even if they want to find a chance to attack us, they won't choose that time." She said, "But we still have to find out who has advanced. How about this? I'll make a trip to Peach Blossom Cove. You must be tired from the journey, so you can rest in the residence." "No need, I'll go with you," Mo Chin said. Chapter 3479. Jun Ju Shang was originally accompanying Wan Yan Qianhua and the Peach Blossom Cove. Wan Yanshur-san was also in the courtyard. When the 3 of them heard the commotion in the sky, they raised their heads and looked up in surprise. The heavenly lightning is not normal. It seems like someone has broken through. Wan Yan-Shirsan rubbed his chin as he spoke. He stared at the sky for a while, then looked at Jun Ju Shang. What do you think? The heavenly lightning struck 3 times, and the fluctuations were extremely strong. This kind of fluctuation can only be caused by a divine king. Therefore, the person breaking through should have broken through the divine king realm. Jun Ju Shang said slowly as he poured Wan Yan Qianhua a cup of hot tea. Hearing this, Wan Yan Qianhua frowned slightly. Another divine king. If it's true, then it's fine if it's from our side. But if it's from Sovereign Tong Tian's side, then I'm afraid it'll be troublesome. Since when was it so easy for a divine king to appear? First it was Xianyuan Mo's, then it was Fengzhou, and now it's someone who I don't know if they're friend or foe. Wan Yan-Shirsan said. He looked at the other 2 and said, if Fengzhou doesn't come later, then I'll go to Feng Manor to take a look. I'll see what she's planning. However, just as he said that, Wan Yan Qianhua looked at the sky and smiled. 13th uncle, I don't think you need to go. Look, they're here. Jun Ju Shang and Wan Yan-Shirsan followed her gaze and saw 2 figures, one red and one white, flying over on their swords. In the blink of an eye, they descended from the sky and landed in front of them. It seems like you've also noticed the commotion. I originally wanted to discuss it with you, but I didn't expect you to be so fast. Wan Yan-Shirsan laughed loudly. His gaze swept past Fengzhou and landed on Mo Qin. TSK, it seems like it's not you. Then it's really troublesome. He originally thought that the person breaking through to the Divine King realm would be Mo Qin. However, it seemed like that wasn't the case. I'm still far from becoming a Divine King. Mo Qin smiled warmly as his gaze swept past them. That's why I'll have to trouble you. Fengzhou Shang smiled as he walked forward and sat at the table. Hearing this, Wan Yan-Shirsan raised his eyebrows and asked with interest, what do you mean? I want you to go back and investigate. I want you to see who has entered the God King realm. Feng Jiu paused for a moment before continuing, I've been thinking about it, and you're the most suitable candidate. So, I can only trouble you. You want me to's Divine King, U.S. Wan Yan-Shirsan rubbed his chin and said, that's true. If someone from the righteous faction has become a divine king, you'll only need to ask around a little to find out who it is. However, if you want to find out information about your enemies, I'll be the most suitable person. As he spoke, he thought for a while and looked at her, but, if I go back and forth, what if I don't make it in time for your wedding? Fengzhou laughed lightly, there's still half a month's time. If you hurry up, you might be able to make it back in time for my wedding. If you really can't make it, then I'll invite you alone. I'll use my treasures to treat you. How about that? Ha 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 ha, good. Then it's settled. Wan Yan-Shirsan laughed loudly and said, then why don't you tell me, who do you think is the most likely person to become a divine king? That way, I'll have a direction to work on and won't have to investigate blindly. Chapter 3480. The owner of the Black Lotus of Destruction. Wan Yan-Shirsan was startled. Who is that? Also, this Black Lotus of Destruction, could it be the one from ancient times? Zhen Zhishang, Wan Yan Qianhua and Wan Yan-Shirsan looked at Fengzhou. They knew that she had many enemies, but the Black Lotus of Destruction was a legendary treasure from ancient times. When did it appear? They had been in the upper world for so long, but they had never heard of it. Mo Qin, on the other hand, lowered her eyes and stood there quietly. No one knew what she was thinking. Fengzhou briefly told them about the Black Lotus of Destruction. In the end, he said, this is what I am worried about. If he really becomes a divine king, then he is a bigger threat than Sovereign Tong Tian. Hearing this, the expressions of the few people became somewhat solemn. Wan Yan-Shirsan nodded. I know. Don't worry. I will leave now. I will investigate it as soon as possible. Be careful. The investigation is one thing, but don't meet him directly. If you can't meet him, you must find a way to leave. Otherwise, if you fall into his hands, it will be difficult to survive. Feng Jiu reminded him to be careful. Don't worry. I know what I am doing. Wan Yanshi said. He looked at Zheng Zhishang and said, please take care of my niece. She is pregnant. She can't leave her side. You have to look after her. Zheng Zhishang looked at Wan Yanqianhua and said, okay. I can take care of myself. Why do I need him to take care of me? Wan Yanqianhua said unhappily. He said to Wan Yanshi, 13th uncle, be careful. We will wait for you to come back. Seeing this, Wan Yanshi grinned. He went back to his room to pack his things. Then he went to the courtyard and said goodbye to them. Then I will leave. Using the teleportation formation to go back should save a lot of time. I'll take you there faster. As Fengzhou spoke, he came to an empty space outside the courtyard. As the array formation in his hand surged, a vortex appeared in the void. Wan Yanshi stepped forward, looked at the vortex, and asked with a smile, where are you going to send me? You'll know when you get there, Fengzhou said. All right. I'll take my leave then. Wan Yanshi glanced at them. The next moment, he walked into the whirlpool and disappeared. With a wave of Fengzhou's hand, the array was retracted, and the vortex disappeared. You sent him to the place with the closest fluctuation? Mo Chen asked. His gaze fell on Fengzhou. Do you think that the owner of the Black Lotus of Destruction is somewhere in the upper world? And not in Sovereign Tongtian's territory? For so many years, there has been no movement from that person. It's as if he has disappeared. I think he must have found a place to concentrate on cultivation. Otherwise, how could he enter the Divine King realm in a few years without the help of elixirs? Fengzhou said slowly. Then he paused and said, the power of the Black Lotus of Destruction is extraordinary. Even divine kings have to be very careful when facing him. After all, even I can't restrain the power of his Black Lotus of Destruction. Wan Yanqianhua heard this and asked, is there no way to restrain his Black Lotus of Destruction? Chapter 3481. Alright, Wan Yanqianhua sighed softly, I can't help you with this matter. You can only rely on yourself. Let alone the fact that she was pregnant right now. Even if she wasn't pregnant, she would not be able to fight against God Kings with her strength. If it were not for Feng Jiu and the others who were also God Kings, they would be instantly slain if they fought against God Kings. On the other side, Xianyuan Mose had also sensed the birth of a God King. He used his communication jade token to ask Feng Jiu and found out that she had already sent Wan Yanshi back to find out more about it, so he didn't bother with this matter. Even if another God King was born, that was something they would have to deal with in the future. As for their wedding day, he also felt that Sovereign Tong Tian and the others wouldn't be so stupid as to pick a day when so many experts were gathered to attack them. Instead of having to endure their monstrous anger and slaughter after disrupting their wedding, they would naturally choose another suitable time. When he came outside and saw the red wedding gifts tied to the wedding bouquets placed around the palace, a trace of gentleness flashed across his eyes. He came to one of the boxes and opened it. In an instant, the dazzling light of precious treasures shone out. After glancing at the treasures, he looked at Ing Yi and said, Ren Xiang is here. Tell him to count the betrothal gifts again. Yes. Ing Yi nodded and watched him go in. Only then did he step forward and seal the box again. There were more than 100 boxes of gifts, each of them extremely precious. Every item was priceless. Many of them were treasures that his master had collected over many years, as well as items that he had ordered people to collect some time ago. Any one of them would cause a huge commotion if taken out. Now, all these treasures were piled up here. He had ordered people to guard the inside and outside to prevent any unforeseen events from happening. In an extremely remote forest in the upper realm, there were more than 100 black-robed cultivators standing in front of a cave. Among them, a woman in a white dress stood among them. If Fingzhou and the others saw her, they would recognize her as Xianyuanmo's junior sister, Yun Shuoxin. She stood in front of the hundreds of black-robed cultivators. It seemed like her status was higher than the others. Yun Shuoxin, who was standing in front of the crowd of cultivators, looked at the cave abode in front of her and couldn't hide her excitement. A divine king-level expert. Master has finally become a god king-level expert. When she found out that Xianyuanmo and Fingzhou had disappeared for 5 years and were now god king-level experts, she almost despaired. Was she supposed to just watch as Fingzhou and her senior brother were together? She clenched her fists tightly and gritted her teeth when she thought of how she had suffered at the hands of Fingzhou. Back then, she had sworn that she would not let her have an easy time. She couldn't do it with her own strength, but her master could. They wanted to get married. Don't even think about it. At this time, the stone door of the cave slowly opened. The enchantment and array formation around the cave also dispersed as the person walked out. Seeing that person walk out, the hundreds of black-clothed cultivators outside excitedly knelt down and greeted him loudly. Greetings, Master. Congratulations on becoming a divine king-level expert. Master's divine power is unparalleled and unrivaled. Master's divine power is unparalleled and unrivaled. Chapter 3482. The Black Lotus Lord walked out and glanced at the crowd. Then, he raised his hand and gestured. All the cultivators stood up and looked at him quietly. I'm already a godly king. It's only a matter of time before I destroy Fingzhou and unify the world. The Black Lotus Lord's voice was gloomy and powerful. He slowly clenched his fists. His cold and sharp eyes were filled with battle intent and arrogance. The crowd couldn't help but get excited. Master's skills are unparalleled. It's only a matter of time before you destroy Fingzhou and unify the world. Master's skills are unparalleled. It's only a matter of time before you destroy Fingzhou and unify the world. Passionate voices echoed in the forest. Then, under the signal of the Black Lotus Master, everyone quieted down again. They looked at him expectantly, waiting for his orders. I've been in seclusion for so long. How powerful is Fingzhou now? Have you been keeping an eye on her? The Black Lotus Lord asked in a gloomy voice. At this moment, a cultivator stepped forward and said, Master, Fingzhou and Xianyuanmo are both godly kings now. From what I know, the upper realm has become Xianyuanmo's territory. Fingzhou has become the sovereign of the lower realm. Both of them seem to be on good terms with Sovereign Xuanwu, but they are enemies with Sovereign Tongtian. Master, they returned to the lower realm not long ago to prepare for their wedding. There's only half a month left until their wedding, Yun Shuoxin, who was dressed in white, said angrily. When she thought of Fingzhou marrying Xianyuanmo, she couldn't wait to tear her apart. The Black Lotus Lord narrowed his eyes when he heard their words. He didn't expect Fingzhou to have broken through to the godly king level after he had been in seclusion for a few years. Not only her, but even Xianyuanmo was also a godly king. Master, should we take advantage of their wedding? Yun Shuoxin asked impatiently. Upon hearing this, the Black Lotus Master looked at her coldly. Attack them while they are getting married. No one went to congratulate them on their wedding. Yun Shuoxin's eyes flashed slightly. She couldn't help but lower her eyes, not daring to speak. Many people had gone to congratulate them when they got married, but were they just going to watch them get married like that? A black-robed cultivator glanced at Yun Shuoxin before he cupped his hands and said to the Black Lotus Master, Master, over the past few years, Xianyuanmo and Fingzhou have many connections in both the upper world and the lower world. Now that they are getting married, many people from the upper world have already gone to the lower world to congratulate them, not to mention the people from the lower world. On the day of their wedding, there will definitely be many powerful cultivators. I don't think it's a good time to make a move. That's right, Master. Fengzhou is very powerful now. I think we can join forces with Sovereign Tong Tian and the others and use them to deal with Fengzhou. It'll be much easier. No one knew what the Black Lotus Lord was thinking, but his eyes flashed slightly. After a long while, he ordered, "Send someone to contact Sovereign Tong Tian. Tell him that I want to discuss this with him." As soon as he finished speaking, his cold gaze landed on Yun Shuoxin. After a while, he said, "Come in with me." Chapter 3483. Due to the presence of the spirit-gathering array in the cave, she felt relaxed as soon as she entered. Her body could not help but absorb the aura of spiritual energy in the cave. There was a simple stone table in the cave. As she walked further in, the stone door opened, and she felt cold all of a sudden. The cave was like an ice cellar, and the surrounding walls were illuminated by luminous pearls. Even though there were no windows in the cave, it still looked as bright as day. In the corner of the ice wall, there was an ice bed emitting traces of cold air. When she entered the room, she could only feel a cold air rushing from the soles of her feet to the bottom of her heart. "Master, do you have any instructions for me to come in?" Inexplicably, she felt uneasy. Why did he ask her to come in? There was nothing in here except for an ice bed. The sealed surroundings made her feel uneasy. She did not know what he wanted to do. "Don't you want to get Xianyuan Mo's? Don't you want to tear Fengzhou into pieces? Do you think your current strength is enough to fight with Fengzhou?" The Black Lotus Lord turned around with his hands behind his back, and his cold gaze landed on Yun Shuoxin. "Right now, I have a way to increase your strength. Furthermore, I can give you the ability to activate the aura of the Black Lotus. Do you want it?" A cold voice came out of his mouth. As he spoke, he walked closer to her and looked down at Yun Shuoxin, who was standing in front of him. An unfathomable dark light flashed across his cold eyes. Yun Shuoxin's heart skipped a beat, and she could not help but take a step back. The master in front of her made her inexplicably fearful, especially the light in his eyes. It made her tremble in fear and want to escape. She swallowed her saliva and suppressed the fear in her heart. With a glimmer of hope, she asked, "Master, what should Shuoxin do? Can I obtain the power of the Black Lotus?" She had a feeling that if she turned around and fled now, she would definitely be killed by him. No. The consequences would be worse than death. I will tell you." The Black Lotus Lord smiled coldly and reached out to touch her beautiful face. In an instant, Yun Shuoxin felt as if she had been stared at by a poisonous snake. She was so shocked that her face turned pale. Instinctively, she exclaimed and retreated, looking at him warily. Master, what are you trying to do?" Her voice was trembling and filled with disbelief. Haven't you already guessed it?" The Black Lotus Master stood still and stared at her with narrowed eyes. "Do you think it's so easy to get the aura of the Black Lotus that even Fengzhou fears? If you want to get it, how can you not pay a price?" Hearing this, the last trace of hope in her heart was finally shattered. Her eyes turned red and her hands tightly gripped her clothes. "No. Master, I can't." As a woman, especially a proud woman like her, who was born in a noble family, how could she tolerate her chastity being ruined? Especially when the other party was someone who had lived for hundreds of years and made her fear him from the bottom of her heart. Chapter 3484. Upon hearing her words, the Black Lotus Lord's aura suddenly turned gloomy. The entire cave abode's aura turned bone-chilling. The oppressive and violent aura howled wildly. The next moment, the Black Lotus Lord's figure flashed. He leaned forward and grabbed Yun Shuoxin's neck with one hand, lifting her up. A sinister voice filled with murderous intent rang in her ears. "Do you think that I'm no match for Xianyuan Mo's?" Her neck was choked, and her feet were lifted off the ground. A powerful aura enveloped her, making her feel as if the aura of death was so close to her. She grabbed his hand tightly with both hands and opened her mouth, trying her best to breathe in fresh air. She wanted to open her mouth to beg for mercy, but she couldn't utter a single word. Just when she thought she would be strangled to death, she felt her body being violently flung, and she fell heavily onto the ice bed. This Lord's Black Lotus just happens to need some primordial yin qi to supplement it. As this Lord's subordinate, you have this obligation. You can't refuse, he said in a gloomy voice as he strode towards the ice bed. With a wave of his hand, a black aura shot out. It split into 4 auras and wrapped around Yun Shuoxin's hands and feet, fixing her on the ice bed in a shape. No! No! Please don't! Yun Shuoxin cried and begged in panic. However, she did not know that the more she cried and begged, the more she refused. This made the Black Lotus Lord even more violent. You will be grateful to me because I can make you stronger. As the Black Lotus Lord spoke, he came to the ice bed and reached out to grab her clothes. Yun Shuoxin's clothes were torn to shreds and scattered all over the ground. Ah! A sharp scream echoed in the cave abode. The black-robed cultivators outside did not know what was happening inside. They were still discussing in low voices how to deal with Fengzhou and the rest. The next evening, the sovereign of Tongtian unexpectedly came to this forest and accurately found the cave abode. Where is your sovereign? In mid-air, the sovereign of Tongtian narrowed his eyes and stared at the people below. It's the sovereign of Tongtian. A black-robed cultivator recognized him and immediately said, "The sovereign of Tongtian, our sovereign is in the cave abode." As he spoke, a black-robed cultivator quickly entered the cave abode to report. The cultivator who entered the immortal's cave went inside but didn't see his master and Yun Shuoxin in the outer room. Puzzled, he went to the inner room. There was a stone door there, so he reported from outside. "Master, the sovereign of Tongtian is outside. Let him in." The sovereign of Tongtian, the black-robed cultivator, the sovereign of Tongtian, the sovereign of Tongtian. And Tongtian. Tongtian, and Tongtian, after he had Tongtian, Tongtian. And Tongtian, Tongtian, Tongtian. Tongtian, Tongtian, and Tongtian. And then, Tongtian and Tongtian. He and Tongtian ing the moment he finished speaking, he put on his clothes and walked out. The stone door closed again, leaving Yun Shuoxin lying there motionless. She stared blankly at the ceiling of the cave abode. After a long time, her eyes moved and she slowly sat up. She curled up into a ball and leaned against the corner of the room as tears silently flowed down her face. Chapter 3485. Sovereign Tongtian and the Black Lotus Lord sat opposite each other at the stone table in the outer room, sizing each other up. When Sovereign Tongtian saw the Black Lotus Lord's strength, his eyes narrowed. He did not dare to underestimate him. The Black Lotus Lord had grown from an inconspicuous cultivator to a God King level expert. There was no doubt about his strength. Furthermore, before he came, he had obtained some information about the Black Lotus Lord. Just like how he had not expected Fengzhou and Xianyuanmos to become God King level experts in such a short period of time, he had never taken the Black Lotus Lord seriously. However, from the moment he became a God King and stood on the same level as him, he was no longer able to overlook him. He could no longer overlook him. I have long heard of the Sovereign Tongtian's great name. Now that I have met you, you are indeed extraordinary, the Black Lotus Lord said politely. The Black Lotus Lord is even more impressive. In a short period of time, you have reached such heights. You are indeed extraordinary, the Sovereign Tongtian said. He smiled and said, I have fought with Fengzhou and the others several times, but I have not been able to gain the upper hand. Now that I have the Black Lotus Lord's help, they will not dare to be so arrogant. Upon hearing this, the Black Lotus monarch took a sip of the tea in front of him and said, I heard that they are preparing to get married. I wonder what plans does Sovereign Tong Tian have? Fengjiu and the others are friends with the Black Tortoise Lord. Furthermore, the Black Tortoise Lord's son has become the adopted son of Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mo's. If we attack them, the Black Tortoise Lord will not stand by and do nothing. They have 3 God King level experts, so I do not dare to act rashly. Furthermore, in my opinion, even if we attack them, we cannot choose to do so while they are getting married. The Sovereign Tong Tian could not hide the murderous intent in his eyes when he mentioned Fengjiu and the others. No matter how much he did not want to see them get married, he had to admit that he could not attack them while they were getting married. It would be unwise to attack them at that time. Since it's not suitable to make a move at that time, why don't we do it half a month after their wedding? During that time, those who went to congratulate him should have already left, Master Black Lotus said. A dim light flashed across his gloomy eyes. No one knew what he was thinking. Are you planning to make your move in the lower realm? Or the upper realm? Sovereign Tong Tian asked. Ha! Whether it's the upper realm or the lower realm, they've already spread their spiritual energy all over the place. If we attack them here, it'll only be beneficial to them. As the Black Lotus Lord spoke, he narrowed his eyes viciously. Since their forces are all over the place, and they have so many supporters and followers, then we shall eliminate all of their supporters. Let them fight on their own. Sovereign Tongtian's expression changed slightly as he asked, I wonder what Sovereign Black Lotus has in mind. How could it be so easy to cut off the wings of Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mo's? However, from his words, could it be that he had a brilliant plan? There's no point in talking about it now. When the time comes, we'll know. With that, he looked at Sovereign Skirich. I want to find the Lord of Demonic Cultivators here. Chapter 3486. Sovereign Tong Tian paused as he looked at Sovereign Tong Tian. He was no match for Fengjiu in the past, and it's even more impossible now. What's the point of looking for him? He was the sovereign of a region and had his own territory. To be honest, he did not want to be associated with the Demon Lord. Moreover, he did not think that the Demon Lord could have grown so powerful in the past few years that Fengjiu was wary of him. Since the Demon Lord was useless, what was the point of having him? You just need to find him. I will know if he is useful or not, Sovereign Tong Tian said. Lord Black Lotus said arrogantly. It was obvious that he did not take Sovereign Tong Tian seriously. Sovereign Tongtian's face darkened when he heard this. He looked at Sovereign Tong Tian and laughed coldly. Sovereign Tong Tian, you sure talk big. Do you think that since I am your subordinate, I should listen to your orders? He was a dignified sovereign, the overlord of a region, and had been in a high position for many years. It was naturally impossible for him to be ordered to do things by a sovereign who had just become a divine king. If he really nodded and agreed today, wouldn't he have to listen to him in the future? How would he have any face left? Sovereign Tong Tian smiled coldly and looked at Sovereign Tong Tian with a sharp gaze. I have never seen Sovereign Tongtian's strength before. Why don't we have a spar? A trace of surprise flashed across Sovereign Tongtian's eyes. Sovereign Tong Tian, who had just become a supreme god, dared to challenge him. Did he think that Sovereign Tong Tian was stronger than him? His probing gaze fell on him, sizing him up, but he couldn't see anything. However, he knew that both of them were powerhouses at the level of divine kings. They didn't have any friendship in the past, so there was only a conflict of interest. They wanted to deal with Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mo's, and they would definitely join forces in the future. Since that was the case, one of them had to listen to the other. Otherwise, there would be many such incidents in the future. After thinking for a while, Sovereign Tong Tian stood up and said, All right. I would like to see what Sovereign Tong Tian is capable of. He wanted to see what made Sovereign Tong Tian so arrogant. Please. Sovereign Tong Tian stood up and gestured for Sovereign Tong Tian to leave. Sovereign Tong Tian clasped his hands behind his back and walked out. Monarch Black Lotus also followed them outside. When they arrived outside, the cultivators automatically made way for them. However, when they thought that their master was going to send Monarch Skirich away, they heard their master's voice. "All of you, back off. I want to spar with Sovereign Tong Tian." Hearing this, the black-robed cultivators couldn't help but exchange glances. Sparring with Sovereign Tong Tian. Could their master win? Although they were suspicious, they still retreated far away. In a spar between God King experts, a single pressure was enough to make them kneel on the ground. They naturally did not dare to appear within the range of their pressure. The Sovereign of Sky reaching and the Black Lotus Lord came to the center of the clearing. As their auras surged, the two of them dashed out like lightning. The airflow in the air was as sharp as a blade. Swish! Who? Chapter 3487. Yun Shuoxin, who was originally in the cave, had come out at some point. She was dressed in a loose black robe and her ink-black hair was hidden under the hood of her black robe. Her aura was gloomy and no one noticed her even when she appeared in front of the cave. Everyone's attention was on the two people who were fighting. Because of this, no one noticed that Wan Yanshi-san was silently approaching the source of that aura. He didn't dare to get too close because the other party was a divine king. He had to carefully conceal his aura so that they wouldn't notice him. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to escape if he was discovered. However, when he came to a tree and looked ahead, he couldn't help but be secretly shocked. The black-robed cultivators in front had all retreated. There were about 100 of them and they were not weak. Moreover, in the middle of the forest, there were two figures fighting at an extremely fast speed. Powerful auras and auras emanated from their bodies. Just looking at it was already very frightening. Was this the power of a divine king? Who was it that was fighting here? He thought for a moment and looked at the black-robed cultivators. With a thought, he took out a black robe from the space and put it on. He also took out a thin mask made of human skin and put it on. Then, he quietly approached the black-robed cultivators and blended in with them. The black-robed cultivators were all watching the two people fighting and didn't notice anyone sneaking in. However, they couldn't help but feel a little worried when they saw that their master and Sovereign Tong Tian had been fighting for a long time without a clear victor. Do you think our master can defeat Sovereign Tong Tian? After all, our master has just become a divine king. Sovereign Tong Tian has been a divine king for many years. Our master will definitely win. Our master is stronger than Sovereign Tong Tian. Hearing their words, Wan Yanshi-san, who was mixed in with them, was slightly surprised. Because the two people who were fighting were extremely fast, he couldn't see their faces clearly. Therefore, he could only see them fighting there. It did not look like a battle to the death. After all, although each of their moves was filled with killing intent, they did not intend to kill each other. They still held back a little. The two combatants seemed to be evenly matched in strength, but if one were to say who was stronger, in his opinion, Sovereign Tong Tian seemed to be stronger. Sovereign Tong Tian gathered wind in his palms and was about to send Black Lotus Lord flying. However, a black aura suddenly surged around Black Lotus Lord and a black lotus appeared on his forehead. The aura around him suddenly grew stronger. Hiss! Look! Our master's black lotus has appeared on his forehead. Our master's aura is stronger than before. Our master will win. Our master will win. Our master will win. The black-robed cultivators looked at the scene in front of them and couldn't help but wave their hands and cheer excitedly. When Wan Yan 13 saw that everyone was clenching their fists and cheering, he shouted along with them. He stared at the Lord of Black Lotus in front of him and thought to himself, as Feng 9 expected, the Lord of Black Lotus has really become an expert at the Divine King realm. Moreover, his black lotus looks very strange. Chapter 3488. Bang! With a loud thud, Sovereign Tong Tian was sent flying. His body slammed into a tree, and the tree broke apart with a loud crack. Just as he steadied himself and was about to counterattack, he suddenly felt a bone-piercing cold aura in his body. That aura inexplicably made him shudder, and the aura in his body could not be mobilized at that moment. "How is it?" Black Lotus Lord asked as he stopped attacking. He stood with his hands behind his back and looked at Sovereign Tong Tian, who was staring blankly at his own hands. "What is that? What is that black lotus on your forehead?" Sovereign Tong Tian asked with a frown. He felt that the black lotus was a little strange. He looked at Sovereign Tong Tian and said in a low voice, "It is the ancient black lotus of destruction. Even Fingzhou is afraid of my black lotus. Even if you are a supreme god like me, you will not be able to withstand the power of my black lotus." Sovereign Tong Tian couldn't help but be slightly shocked when he heard this. That power was so powerful. He looked at his own hands. The feeling gradually dissipated. He channeled power into his palms to force the bone-chilling aura out of his body. Only then did he feel better. Wanyan Shirsan, who was mixed in the crowd, was also shocked when he heard that. If the power of the Black Lotus was really so powerful, then Feng Jiu and the others would really be in trouble. Once they fought against it, it was hard to say who would win. It seemed that he had to quickly inform her about this matter so that she could be prepared in advance. Just as he was thinking, he saw the two people in front of him talking as they walked. "I will send people to find the Devil Lord. You said before that we will attack them half a month after they get married. Do you have a detailed plan?" Sovereign Tong Tian was already thinking of sneaking away when they were not paying attention. When he heard this, he could not help but follow the black-robed cultivators. How were they going to deal with Fingzhou and the rest? Since he had encountered them, he had to listen carefully. This mainland is already Xianyuan Mo's territory. Since that is the case, let's go to your place. We will discuss it when we get there, Sovereign Tong Tian said. Sovereign Tong Tian thought for a moment and nodded. All right, it will be more convenient for us to leave together. Thus, the Black Lotus monarch glanced at Yun Shuashin, who was standing in front of the cave residence, and instructed, "You, Yun Shuashin, remember what I told you. Put away the ice bed here. When I find a suitable place, I will build a palace." His voice paused, and his eyes were cold and bloodthirsty. "Do what I tell you to do. If I find out that you have any thoughts of betrayal, I will make you suffer a fate worse than death." Hearing this, Yun Shua Axan couldn't help but tremble. She lowered her head and knelt down. "Master, don't worry. Shua Axan will never be disloyal. In this life, Master will be the most respected." The Black Lotus Master stared at her as if he was trying to figure out if she was telling the truth. After a long while, he said, "It's good that you think this way. Come here." Yun Shuashin's eyelashes fluttered. She walked up to him stiffly and lowered her head, not daring to look at him. "Raise your head," the Black Lotus Master instructed. Hearing this, Yun Shuashin raised her head. Immediately after, she saw him point a finger at the space between her eyebrows. In an instant, a stream of qi flowed from his finger into the space between her eyebrows. The black qi surged and gradually turned into a black lotus with only 3 petals. Chapter 3489. Yun Shuashin felt something in her mind. Then, she felt a burning sensation between her eyebrows. Before she could react, her master had already retracted his hand. "Keep an eye on Fingzhou's movements. Don't act rashly without my orders." "But master, cultivators from the upper realm have to pass through the immortal path that Fingzhou has ordered people to guard in order to go to the lower realm. I'm afraid we won't be able to pass through," a cultivator said. Hearing this, the Black Lotus Lord glanced at the cultivator and said gloomily, "I've already imparted the technique to Wang Shuashin. She has her own ways to bring you over." Hearing this, the cultivators were slightly surprised. They couldn't help but look at Wang Shuoxin, who was standing there in a daze. Their eyes flashed. Her Vitaline was gone. It was still there earlier. How? Suddenly, the cultivator's heart skipped a beat. They recalled that she had been called in by their master and had only just come out. Furthermore, she was not wearing her usual white dress when she came out of the cave abode. Instead, she was wearing a loose black robe and a large hat. Her entire aura had changed. Their master had imparted the technique to her. It seemed like she had become their master's woman. After the Black Lotus Lord explained some things to the crowd, he left with the two black-robed cultivators beside him. He left Yun Shuoxin behind to take care of these people's movements. Seeing that the Black Lotus Lord and the Sovereign of Sky Reaching had left, Wan Yanshirsan couldn't help but sigh softly. He was really worried that he would be discovered if he mingled with these people. Fortunately, the two people he was afraid of had already left. He had to find a chance to leave and report to Fingzhou and the others. It was a pity that he didn't know what they were planning. Yun Shuoxin, who was in front of him, said a few words before turning to enter the cave abode. When Wan Yanshirsan saw this, he secretly retreated when no one was paying attention. However, after turning around and walking a few meters, he suddenly heard a voice calling out to him from behind. "Where are you going?" A cultivator called out when he saw someone walking behind a tree. Wan Yanshirsan clutched his stomach with one hand and lowered his head. "I'm going to relieve myself. I'll be back soon." Seeing this, the man glanced at him and didn't say anything more. He turned around and started talking with the others. He didn't notice anything wrong. That was also true. He had lowered his presence, and the appearance of the mask was too ordinary and inconspicuous. No one would pay attention to him. While they weren't paying attention, he walked into the woods. When he was far away, he took off his black robe and mask and put them into the space. Then, he used the transmission scroll to quickly leave this place. Several days later, late at night, in the backyard of the Phoenix residence of the Phoenix dynasty, Fingzhou, who was sound asleep, suddenly turned pale. Her forehead was covered with sweat, and her brows were tightly knitted together. Her body seemed to be pressed down by someone, and she tried to open her eyes, but she couldn't. A powerful spiritual energy surged forth from her body. As if she had lost control, it rushed out of the room and filled the entire Feng Manor. In the instant that powerful spiritual energy and pressure were released, practically the entire Feng Manor was alarmed. Everyone who had been sleeping soundly quickly leapt up and rushed out of their rooms. What happened? Chapter 3490. In the guest room, Mo Chen put on his clothes and walked out. Sensing the aura in the air, he immediately formed a seal with his hands to cover the Feng Manor. This was to prevent the aura from escaping and causing a commotion. He walked out and headed straight for Fengzhou's courtyard. Before he could speak, he heard Feng Xiao ask, "Mo Chen, what is going on?" "Something should have happened with Fengzhou. This aura is her aura." As Mo Chen spoke, he walked towards Fengzhou's courtyard. The closer he got, the stronger the pressure became. Feng Xiao, Feng Sanyuan, and the others wanted to get closer, but they found that the pressure was too strong. They could not even enter the courtyard. "You guys wait outside. Her aura and pressure are being released. You will be injured if you come in." Mo Chen stopped and said to the people behind him. Only then did he walk inside. Everyone saw that a layer of light covered his body, blocking the pressure and air around him. He pushed open the door and walked in. "Ling Shuang, what is going on? Is Xiao Jiu inside? What happened to her? Weren't you standing guard in the courtyard?" The anxious Feng Sanyuan looked at Ling Shuang and asked. Ling Shuang's face was a bit pale, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. She took a deep breath and said to Feng Sanyuan, I was originally in the courtyard, but suddenly, a powerful pressure and air came out of Master's room. I wanted to go in and take a look, but I was kicked out of the courtyard. I don't know what exactly happened, but during this time, no one else came. Hearing this, everyone's brows furrowed tightly. If no one else came, then why did it suddenly become like this? What exactly was going on? They were anxious and wanted to go in to take a look, but because the difference in strength was too great, they could not get close. They could only wait outside. Emo-chan entered the room and could not help but feel shocked by the aura and pressure that filled the room. He entered the room, and when he saw Fingjo on the bed, his brows furrowed, and he quickly walked over. 9. Aju, wake up. He called out to her, gently shaking her body. However, she did not wake up. Her face was pale and in pain, as if she was experiencing something that hurt her to the bone. 9. Wake up. He continued to call out, but it was to no avail. Originally, he thought that something had happened to her while she was cultivating. However, looking at the situation now, it seemed like she was having a nightmare. Just what kind of dream had trapped her? Why was she in so much pain? Looking at her tightly clenched fists and her struggling and painful expression, he was worried that she would go berserk and explode if she continued like this. He immediately helped her up and sat cross-legged behind her. Then, he gathered the aura in his body in his palms. A golden light surged from his palm. This golden spiritual energy was transmitted from his palm into her body, trying to suppress the violent aura on her body. 9. Wake up. 9. Fengjiu only felt an anxious voice calling out to her in her ear. That voice covered the voice in her head. She also felt a cool aura circulating in her body. Gradually, the violent aura on her body was restrained. The voice in her ear became clearer, and she suddenly calmed down. 9. It's me, Emo-chan. 9. Wake up. Hearing that voice, she suddenly opened her eyes. The aura in her body changed, and she instinctively rebounded. Chapter 3491. Emo-chan's body bounced back and hit the bed behind him. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Fengjiu was startled and turned around to look, Emo-chan. Outside, because they felt the surrounding airflow and pressure disappear, they quickly walked inside. When they arrived, they saw Emo-chan lying on the bed with a pale face and blood at the corner of his mouth. Xiaojiu, what happened? Phone girl, are you okay? What happened to Emo-chan? Everyone gathered around and asked. When they saw that she was sitting on the bed, they secretly sighed in relief. Shangwan Wanrong saw that she was only wearing undergarments and said to everyone, "You all go out first. Ling Shuang and Qin Xan stay." Seeing this, Feng Sanyuan thought for a moment, then let everyone wait outside. After everyone left, Shangwan Wanrong said to Ling Shuang and Qin Xan, "Ling Shuang, help Emo-chan. Qin Xan, help Xiaojiu put on clothes." Yes. The two responded and went forward to help. Fengjiu looked at Emo-chan and asked, "How are you?" "I'm fine." As Emo-chan spoke, he raised his hand to wipe the blood at the corner of his mouth and got off the bed. However, as soon as he got off the bed, his body swayed. Fortunately, Ling Shuang and Fengjiu reached out to support him. "Help him sit down in a chair." Fengjiu gestured and stood up to put on his coat. Then he sat down beside the chair and reached out to take Emo-chan's pulse. Shangwan Wanrong asked Qin Xan to clean up the bloodstained bed and opened the door to disperse the smell of blood in the air. "I'm sorry, I hurt you," she said apologetically. After retracting her hand, she took out a pill from her space and gave it to him. "You need to recuperate for 2 days. Don't use your spiritual power anymore." Emo-chan took the pill and swallowed it. He took a few sips of water from Ling Shuang and calmed down before asking, "What happened to you just now?" Why is his spiritual energy running amok? I thought you had gone berserk while cultivating. When he saw her like that, he was really shocked. He was really worried that he wouldn't be able to suppress the violent aura in her body. If he couldn't suppress it, she wouldn't be able to wake up. He was afraid that the final result would be her body exploding and she would die. That's right, Xiao Zhou. Why did this happen out of nowhere? Are you okay now? Shangguan Wanrong also asked worriedly. Mother, I'm fine. Don't worry, I just... She paused and her eyes flashed. I just had a nightmare. How could a normal dream make you like that? Shangguan Wanrong looked at Mo Qin and asked, Mo Qin, is she okay like this? Mo Qin smiled gently and said, she's fine now that she's awake. That's good. You guys sit down first. I'll go outside and tell them so they won't worry. Shangguan Wanrong said and then walked outside. In the room, Qin Axian was cleaning the floor and the blood-stained bed. Only Leng Shuang was waiting by Fingzhou's side. Mo Chen looked at Fingzhou, whose face was still pale, and asked, what did you dream of? He had almost trapped himself to death in the dream. Do you know that if you didn't wake up in time, the consequences would have been unimaginable? Fengzhou picked up the teacup and drank a mouthful of water. She calmed her heart, which hadn't completely calmed down. She paused for a moment, then narrowed her eyes and stared at the cup in her hand. She faintly said, I had a very scary dream. In the dream, there was blood everywhere. I couldn't move and watched the people around me die one by one. I wanted to save them, but I was powerless. Chapter 3492. She had this dream right before they were about to get married. Her heart was faintly uneasy. Everything in the dream was uncontrollable, yet it was so real. Mo Chen's eyes flickered slightly when she heard this. It was unknown what she was thinking as she listened to Mo Chen's words. After a while, she said, don't think too much about it. With your current strength, who can easily injure you? Moreover, whether it's your grandfather, your father, or your followers, their strength is no longer the same as before. Even if something really happens, they will be able to handle it. He paused, then continued, it's because you're too worried that you had this dream. It's fine, don't worry. We're here for you. Feng Sanyuan and Feng Xiao were standing at the entrance. They also heard the conversation inside. They looked at each other, then walked in. Feng Sanyuan looked at her pale face and said, Feng Lass, Mo Qin is right. You're too worried. You're about to be a bride, so why are you still thinking about these things all day long? You don't think too much. It's just a dream. There's no need to take it seriously. That's right, that's right. Feng Xiao also nodded. He looked at Mo Qin and asked, Mo Qin, how are you? Are you alright? I'm fine. It's just a backlash. I'll be fine after some rest. Mo Qin spoke, then said to Fingzhou, I just set up a barrier around the Feng Manor to prevent your aura from alarming the people outside. You can withdraw it later. Alright. Fengzhou replied, then said, I'll have someone send you back to rest. Master, I'll send young Master Mo Qin back. Leng Hua walked forward. Mo Qin smiled and waved his hand, I'm not that weak. There's no need to send me back. I can go back on my own. As he spoke, he stood up and said, I took some pills to recover. I'm much better now. It's not that serious. He nodded slightly at the crowd before walking out. Leng Hua, follow him. Fengzhou gestured. Yes. Leng Hua responded and followed behind. Fengzhou stood up and walked outside. He looked at the barrier in the sky that enveloped the Feng Manor. With a wave of his sleeve, a wave of spiritual energy was released, and the barrier in the air was destroyed. Grandfather, father, mother, all of you should go back and rest. I'm fine. She looked at them and said. All right. Then you should rest early. They nodded and walked out. Shengwan Wanrong was half a step behind. She said to Fingzhou, I asked Qin Xan to boil a bowl of soup to calm the nerves. You should drink a bowl before you sleep. As she spoke, she gently patted her daughter's hand. Nyangqin will come to see you tomorrow. All right. Fengzhou responded. After watching her leave, he looked at Song Ming and the others. You guys go back to sleep too. Fengzhou, are you really fine? Ning Lang asked worriedly. I'm fine. I just had a bad dream. She smiled. You scared me to death. I thought something had happened. Ning Lang sighed and patted his chest, saying, Then you should rest early. If you can't sleep, then sit for a while and eat something before you sleep. Do you think she's you? Luo Fei said unhappily. After glancing at Ning Lang, he said to Fingzhou, If you can't sleep, we can chat with you. We can still play chess. Song Ming and Duan Yi also said. Chapter 3493. Seeing this, they didn't say anything else. They turned around and went back to their rooms to rest. Not long after they left, Fengzhou saw Leng Hua come back and said, Go to the room and bring out the soft couch for me. Okay. Leng Hua responded and walked into the room. You go back and rest too. You don't have to wait here. She said to Ling Shuang. Hearing this, Ling Shuang responded and left. Bai Qingqing came and saw her sitting at the table. She asked, Master, are you okay? The previous movement was so loud that everyone in the mansion was alarmed. She was worried that Hao would be hurt by the airflow because he was young, so she formed a boundary to block some of it for him. At this time, he was sleeping and didn't know that something had happened to her master. I'm fine. How is Hao? Fengzhou asked. He's sleeping soundly and hasn't woken up. Well, that's good. Keep an eye on him and go back. I don't need anyone to wait on me. She said and motioned for her to leave. Yes. Bai Qingqing responded and left. Leng Hua brought out the soft couch and a blanket and put them in the courtyard. He looked at Fengzhou and asked, Master, do you want to watch the stars here? Why don't you let Qin Xan play the zither for you later? At this time, Qin Xan came in with a bowl of calming soup and said, Master, have a bowl of soup. She put the bowl of soup in front of Fengzhou. Fengzhou supported her chin with one hand and looked at the sky without saying anything. No one knew what she was thinking. Leng Hua motioned to Qin Xan. Qin Xan went to the side and sat down. She took out the zither and gently plucked the strings. The pleasant tinkling sound spread in the courtyard and gradually calmed the worries and anxiety of the people in the mansion. Fengzhou listened to the zither for a long time. Her brows gradually relaxed. She drank the bowl of calming soup and lay down on the soft couch. She pulled the blanket over her body, but she did not close her eyes to sleep. Instead, she looked at the sky, as if thinking about something. On the other side, Xianyuan Mose couldn't help but frown when he heard Hui Lang's report. He clasped his hands behind his back and looked at the sky. He knew that she was still awake, so he sent a message to Fengzhou using his communication jade token. That night, the two of them were on opposite sides of the sky. Fengzhou was telling him about her uneasiness and worries through the communication jade token, while Xianyuan Mose was comforting her by telling her that he was here. As the days passed, the day of their wedding drew closer and closer. The people of the Feng Manor became busier and busier. That morning, people from all over the world rushed over to the Feng Manor with gifts to congratulate them. Aside from the emperors from all over the world sending gifts, the mayors from all over the world and people from sects and schools also sent gifts to congratulate Feng Jiu and Xianyuan Mose's marriage. At the entrance, the housekeeper took the invitation and looked at it. He then continued to announce, "The principal of the School of Stars and Clouds has come to congratulate. He has sent 10 rare antiques, a pair of night pearls from the Eastern Sea, a 1,000-year-old purple ginseng." The housekeeper followed the names of the people who had come to congratulate the Feng Manor, as well as the list of gifts that had been sent. Every voice contained spiritual energy and clearly spread to the surroundings. Chapter 3494. How amazing! From dawn until now, the Feng Manor's gates have not been empty. A commoner sighed in amazement as he looked at the bustling Feng Manor. Because tomorrow was the day of the Feng Manor's eldest young Miss wedding, almost everyone had chosen today to send gifts to the Feng Manor. No matter if it was the family heads dressed in bright and luxurious clothes, or the sect heads dressed in simple and loose robes, or the calm and dignified school heads, each one was a person that the commoners had never seen before. Today, however, they had all gathered in the Feng Manor to send gifts to the Feng Manor's eldest young miss. Of course, this is the Feng Manor's eldest young miss. It's because of her and the Feng family's people that no one dares to invade this place. Now that she is about to get married, there will naturally be people coming from everywhere to congratulate her. That's right, this marriage is the focus of everyone's attention. Naturally, it will cause a stir everywhere. In the crowd, an old man stroked his beard and said, "The people here today should be people from the lower and upper continents. You don't know this, but the Feng family's eldest young miss is someone who has gone to the upper world. Since she is getting married, the people from the upper world will naturally send gifts. Just watch. The people coming tomorrow are all important people." Hearing this, everyone could not help but sigh. Inside the Feng Manor, the Feng family members were all busy receiving the guests, especially Lang Hua and Du Fan. Because they were Fengzhou's people, even if the guests did not see Fengzhou, they still had to see them and greet them before leaving. Because they needed to receive the guests, the inns and restaurants near the Feng Manor had already been booked by Lang Hua and the others. They were used to receive the guests. What made the Feng family happy was that even Feng Yi and Xiao Yang had followed their master's orders to come down the mountain and congratulate them. Inside the Feng Manor, the people in the front were busy going in and out. In the back courtyard, Fengzhou was leisurely accompanying Imo Qin, Hao, and Feng Yi, Xiao Yang and the others. Your master really knows how to conduct himself. He knew to let you use the opportunity of sending gifts to come back. Fengzhou ate some pastries while glancing at Feng Yi. 5 years had passed. The little brat from back then had already become a young man. Looking at him and Xiao Yang, Fengzhou's gaze softened. Of these two people, one had been personally delivered, and the other had been brought back by her. Now, they were already this big. I say, Master said that once you get married, we will return to cultivating. Feng Yi said, his childlike appearance. His actions were now much more mature after cultivating in the mountains for so many years. He was used to being independent. He was not reluctant to part with his family. Since you've come back, you should spend more time with Grandpa and the others. They haven't seen you for a few years. As for Yang Yang, Feng Zhou looked at the sturdy young man and smiled. You should spend more time with Hao. Practice with him. Okay. Xiao Yang agreed. Thinking a bit, he took out a small box from his space and handed it over with both hands. He shyly said, Sister Feng, I personally made this. It's a wedding gift for you. Fengzhou was slightly surprised. She reached out to take it and opened it. Oh. This is a bracelet made from crystals of different elements. You actually have such good craftsmanship. It's so beautiful. Chapter 3495. Seeing that she liked it, Xiao Yang couldn't help but smile happily. These crystal cores were all carved from the crystal cores of the fierce beasts I hunted. I asked Master to carve a talisman on them that can keep you safe. Also, Sister Feng's name is on it. Thank you, I like it very much. Feng Jiu said with a smile. Looking at Zhao Yang, who smiled happily because of her words, she couldn't help but feel warm in her heart. Feng Yi saw this and also took out something. I also have something to give you. Feng Jiu couldn't help but smile. She raised her eyebrows and looked at him jokingly. You are my little uncle, so you have to prepare a generous gift. Hearing this, Hao who was sitting to the side, pulled on Feng Jiu's sleeve and asked, Mother, Hao didn't prepare a gift for Mother, what should I do? Hearing this, Feng Jiu reached out and pinched his little face. You are the best gift. Mo Chen drank tea and listened to them talk. Seeing Feng Jiu's face brimming with happiness, he couldn't help but smile. Being able to see her happy, and married to the person she liked, he was satisfied. Guan Shilin helped greet the guests in the front, while Luo Fei, Song Ming, and the others helped lead the guests to the inn and restaurant. Leng Hua and Du Fan took over the reception. They busied themselves for an entire day, and it could be said that the number of people who came to present gifts was uncountable. The boxes of congratulatory gifts filled up the manor's storeroom, and in the end, there was no more space. Thus, Feng Sanyuan had them store all the congratulatory gifts in a spatial ring. In the evening, they came to Feng Jiu's courtyard. Seeing the people in the courtyard who had already started to get busy, Feng Sanyuan and Feng Xiao couldn't help but smile. Feng girl. Xiao Jiu. The two called out as they walked in. Behind them, Su Shi and Shengwan Wanrong came in together. Grandpa, grandmother, father, mother. She got up and walked in front of them. She smiled and asked, Why are you all here? Most of the guests have been taken care of. Luo Yu and the others took the rest to the inns and restaurants. With your brother and Leng Hua taking care of them, we took the time to come and see you. Feng Sanyuan said, Your wedding time is tomorrow morning. If you have time tonight, find some time to sleep for a while. She has to put on her makeup tonight. I don't think she has much time to rest. Shengwan Wanrong walked up with a smile and said, If you're tired, close your eyes and take a nap. Tonight, you have to put on your makeup and prepare for other things. When you get married tomorrow morning, even if you use spatial teleportation to get there, you still have to pay a visit to Moses' father. There are still many things to do. In particular, you can't make any mistakes. You have to be 120% alert. That's right. If you're tired, take a nap. Su Shi also said with a smile. She looked at the busy people going in and out of the courtyard and said, In the blink of an eye, Xiao Jiu is going to get married. The days passed so quickly. They chatted in the courtyard for a while. Feng Sanyuan and Feng Xiao left first, leaving Su Shi, Shengwan Wanrong, and the others to accompany her in the courtyard. Yi Jing came out of the room and said with a smile, Come in and see how the room is decorated. If there's anything you need to add, I'll have someone bring it in. Chapter 3496. So, they walked into the room together. Feng Yi, Xiao Yang, Hao, and Guan Shilin's son also followed behind. Su Shi and Shengwan Wanrong just chatted with Feng Jiu for a while. After looking at the layout of the room, they let Feng Jiu eat something and sleep for a while. In the second half of the night, they had to start bathing and putting on makeup. Everyone in the courtyard was cleared out. Only Bai Qingqing and Qin Xian stayed in the courtyard. Even the children were called back to the courtyard to sleep early. Feng Jiu lay in bed but couldn't fall asleep. Because she was a bride to be married, she couldn't hide her happiness and anticipation. It would be strange if she could fall asleep at this time. Lying in bed, she couldn't sleep, so she closed her eyes to rest. At midnight, there was a light knock on the door. Qin Xian and Bai Qingqing's voices came. Master, it's time to bathe and change clothes. Feng Jiu responded and got up lazily. She bathed and changed clothes while they served her. Then she sat in front of the dressing table and began to put on makeup. Just like Fingzhou, on the other side, Xianyuan Mose, who was preparing for the wedding, was also excited and couldn't hide his joy. He repeatedly asked his subordinates to confirm that there were no mistakes in all aspects. He asked the people in the palace to prepare, and also asked Ren Xiang to stay in his mansion to prepare all kinds of things. The placement of the new room in the mansion, the layout of the mansion, and the inspection inside and outside. It could be said that they were very busy here. Whether it was for the people of Yandian or for the people of Xianyuan dynasty, seeing that Xianyuan Mose was finally going to get married made them more excited than getting married themselves. Ing Yi, calculate the time. Don't miss the auspicious time of the wedding. Xianyuan Mose said to Ing Yi again. Yes, master, don't worry. This subordinate remembers. Ing Yi responded. Looking at his master who was wearing a new robe, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curve slightly, revealing an imperceptible smile. Master seemed to be nervous and looking forward to it. She had already changed into her new clothes and was waiting for the time to come. While he was busy and nervous, time passed quietly. When the first ray of sunlight shone on the earth, Xianyuan Mose revealed a smile. His robes fluttered as he walked out in large strides while instructing, light the firecrackers. Play music. Come with me to escort the bride. A deep voice containing a powerful aura rang out with joy. Almost at the same time, the sound of firecrackers rang out from both the gates of the palace and the gates of his residence. Dressed in martial attire, the majestic Yen guards split into groups of 2 to pick up the betrothal gifts. There were large mahogany chests with red bouquets tied to the chests. The chests of betrothal gifts were picked out by the neat, military-like troops, and followed behind Xianyuan Mose in a grandiose manner. Roar! With a dragon's roar, the azure dragon came out of Xianyuan Mose's space. After circling twice in the air, it came in front of Xianyuan Mose. In the midst of the firecrackers and music, Xianyuan Mose, who was dressed in a luxurious black robe with golden embroidery, stood up on the azure dragon and flew into the air. Behind him, thousands of people followed neatly. Some were playing music, some were carrying gifts, some were carrying the bridal sedan, and there were nearly 100 women in dresses holding flower baskets in their hands. Chapter 3497. Xianyuan Mose passed through the teleportation array. He didn't come directly to the city where Fengzhou was, but came from the sky in the distance, leading a wedding procession of over 1,000 people. Along the way, joyous music played and flowers fluttered. In the sky, the blue sky and white clouds were suffused with a layer of colorful clouds. The entire scene was as beautiful as a fairyland, and it was unforgettable. At this moment, several streaks of light flashed across the sky and landed on the mountain peaks around Yunhua City like shooting stars. They looked at the thousands of people who came from afar. An old man stood at the peak of a mountain and his voice was filled with spiritual energy. This old man is the sect leader of the Blue Star Immortal sect. I'm here to congratulate the Yama Lord on the marriage of the Ghost Doctor. I'll give 99 chests of treasures to the Ghost Doctor's dowry. His voice was like thunder that reverberated between heaven and earth. That voice clearly entered the ears of everyone in all directions, causing a burst of exclamations. The sect leader of the Qing City Immortal sect is here to congratulate the Xianyuan monarch and the Ghost Doctor on their marriage. I'll give 99 chests of treasures to the Ghost Doctor's dowry. The 4 great sects are here to congratulate the Yama Lord on the marriage of the Ghost Doctor. I'll give 99 chests of rare antiques and herbs to the Ghost Doctor's dowry. Hearing the congratulatory voices and the gifts, the people below were all in an uproar. That's a strong cultivator from the upper realm. Hiss. I didn't expect those people from the upper realm to come as well. Some of the family heads could not help but suck in a breath of cold air when they heard the person who introduced himself. However, at this moment, another ray of light flashed past and a figure appeared at a certain high place. An old voice that contained a hint of laughter could be heard. This old man is Hun Yuanzi. I am here to drink some wine and to add to Fengzhou's dowry. Ha 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 ha, Fengzhou, I wish you and Xianyuanmos to have a child soon and grow old together. The 8 great clans of 100 River City congratulate the Yamo Lord on the marriage of the ghost doctor. Under the orders of the master of the black market, we are here to congratulate the ghost doctor on her wedding, and to add to her dowry. The voices outside continued to echo through the sky. In the room in the Feng Manor's inner courtyard, Fengzhou listened to the voices, and a beautiful smile appeared on his face. Those familiar faces are all here. Coming. The bridegroom is here. Feng Yi ran excitedly from outside, followed by the short-legged Hao, and Zhao Yang. Little Feng, let me tell you, there are 7 colored clouds in the sky outside. There are over 1,000 people coming to escort the bride. That long line is circling the sky, coming from afar. Joy is spreading all over the sky, and flowers are sprinkling all the way. Feng Yi was so excited that he danced as if he was the one getting married. He was so excited that he stumbled and fell forward. Be careful, don't fall. Yi Jing reached out to support him and shook her head helplessly. These children. Feng Yi smiled embarrassedly. He stood up and straightened his clothes. After thanking Yi Jing, he quickly walked over to Fengzhou's side and excitedly said, there are so many people outside. Not only are there people surrounding our manor, but there are also people in the air far away. Fengzhou glanced at him through the mirror and joked, calm down. People who don't know might think you're the one getting married.